T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. Welcome to Trap Talk Reptile Podcast, episode 379, the Elite Green Tree Python Talk. I'm your boy MJ, and with me tonight is my boy, the mayor of Chondro Town, Bill Stiegel. What's up, Bill?
What an honor to be here tonight. I've been looking forward to this all week, as you know.
Honors all on this side of the table, buddy. I listen, anytime it comes to me bringing someone legendary relevant as far as chondros go into the game, I couldn't ask for anyone better than Bill to be a part of this, because quite the season you're having, Bill. I'm not gonna lie, man. You're killing it this year, and I'm just so happy for you. You've put in a lot of fucking blood, sweat, and tears to get where you're at tonight. So first and foremost, let everyone know how you're doing. How's everything going? How are all the neos? Let's kind of get into that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. Yeah, this year was one of those years where just kind of all the stars aligned, and you know, like you said, I've kind of paid my dues, put a lot of time into this, getting to learn stuff, getting animals established, getting everybody just kind of settled in here. And this year's kind of been the pinnacle of a breeding season, what I had hoped for, never expected. But yeah, super lucky. Ended up with 6 clutches, 60 neos. I've lost 2 to kind of failure to thrive, but the rest of them are hanging in there and doing well. And you know, just spent a lot of time in here, but it's definitely a labor of love. Just feel, you know, super blessed and stoked to have them.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to hear. And I want everyone out there to be excited for tonight's episode, especially if you're a green tree python lover. And if this is your first time here, let's just go ahead and get this out of the way real quick. Why don't we get that like hit? Why don't you hit that like button for us real quick? And then also hit subscribe, and then smash that notification bell, select all. You'll be on top of every single podcast we drop here on the Trap Talk Reptile Podcast. I do want to shout out some sponsors that even you're familiar with, Bill, because who are you not familiar with, man? But shout out to Gary Shavino from GS Reptiles, man. What do you know about this guy, Bill?
MJ, you know that Gary is one of my closest friends in the reptile community. I've known Gary over a decade. I was introduced to Gary through actually carpet pythons, and he was one of the original people that coaxed me to get into green trees. It's been the best decision I've ever made, and I can't say enough about Gary. He's a great guy, salt of the earth, and so trustworthy and respected and knowledgeable. Just can't say enough about him.
Right, and guys, to top all that, please head over to YouTube. Type in GS Reptiles, subscribe to this man's content because it's amazing. I can't get enough of Gary, and I'm not you know, saying that because he is one of our best friends in the reptile world. But you just like being someone you've never even like know. If you don't know Gary, you just hear him talk, you can't help but just to be engaged to listen to the guy. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he's just very well spoken, and he's funny as shit. If you have watched his podcast, everything from Mouse Man to his Ken outfit, and you know, his wife does such a great job reeling him in, and being his cameraman. He's just it's just awesome.
Thank you for your support, Gary. And then we're gonna keep this rolling, Flex in Texas all day, every day. Shout out to Focus Cube Habitats, Stephen and Ashley. Man, so proud of these two, man. But haven't they made quite the name for themselves in the reptile industry, you would say, Bill?
Oh my God, it's incredible. I've known Stephen and Ashley. You know, they're from the Houston area. I met them at a Herbst Conroe show, and I was really impressed by what they were doing and their caging. And in fact, if you look over my left shoulder, wait, this cage here, right, this side, that's right, one of their original arboreal kind of cages that they had put together, a prototype. They put 2 of them together for me a long time ago, And then obviously their caging has evolved way since that point. And they're again, like Gary, these are great people. These are people that just want to please their customer. They take so much satisfaction in their work and their work effort, and they're just, I love them so much.
I mean, they definitely work their ass off to provide something that can't be duplicated. You can't duplicate these focus cube habitats. I don't care how much you knock off the style that they have. There's a thing about their finishing and even the quality of their PVC that I've paid attention with other enclosures, and I'm telling you right now, they're next level. I mean, I'm like, again, not being biased, they're the best, dude.
And they're always evolving. They're always changing, always improving, whether it's style or function. Just the best.
Right. Listen, this is what the pros use when it comes to shipping your reptiles, and that's Ship Your Reptiles, the OG. Bill, do you use Ship Your Reptiles?
MJ, I'll tell you, I was late to the Ship Your Reptile party, but I'm on board now. I met Susie. You actually introduced me to Susie.
Yeah.
I met her it's been over a year ago now. She came to Arlington, and she came by the place. She took us out to dinner, and I just, we just bonded right away, and I got to know Chad not too long ago, really. I met him for the first time out in California, and, I have been a Ship Your Reptiles guy since then. And I'll tell you what, MJ, you know, as soon as the heat breaks here, I'm getting ready to ship out probably about 30 baby chondros.
Damn.
And they're of course going to go out through Ship Your Reptiles, and I'm going to take advantage of the Ship Your Reptiles insurance on every one of them.
Nice.
It's a game changer for just security. I don't sleep well at night anyway when these things go out, but I think I'm going to sleep a little bit better, at least knowing there's going to be at least some insurance, behind them now.
Yeah, and like I said, it doesn't matter what the snake is. It's always not fun or a good feeling when anything gets stuck anywhere, or God forbid, doesn't know where it's at. But the beauty thing about that, Ship Your Reptiles is all over it. They're there to help you out. They're there to figure out any problems. And I hope we could double dip on this, but use promo code Trap Talk, and you could use promo code. What's your promo code, Bill?
Phoenix Reptiles 10, maybe.
Is it? Don't you? I could have sworn you had you posted. Did you forget it?
I forgot it.
Oh,
Susie's on the chat. Susie's on the chat.
Susie, drop Bill's promo code as well. That way people could double dip on their next shipment when it comes to using Ship Your Reptiles. Just take a little bit off the top.
And MJ, I've used yours. I've used your code.
Awesome. Well, listen, I'm so ready to rock and roll. The live chats are fucking going nuts. You got heavy hitters all through Texas in the building. We got Patreon members that are here. Happy to see you here. Mark Curry Reptile. Shout out to Mark Curry. Big Mike 76 Exotics. I do want to say, guys, don't be shy in the super chats. If you have an important topic or super question for Bill or Garrick, do not be shy. Drop the super chats and we will get your question or whatever it is that you need to get out there. Okay. And I appreciate all the super chat energy happening right now. But Bill, I got to say, I'm ready to rock and roll. How do you feel? Are you ready to bring Garrick on or what?
Listen, I got to say one thing first. I just renewed my Trap Talk Patreon membership.
Yeah, my guy, the family.
So I upgraded to, I think it's called the Emperor package, where it's like it costs a ton of money, but I guess I get 24/7 access to you. So like in the middle of the night, and I got a question about breeding chondros, I can call you. You'll put the baby down, pick up the phone, we'll talk through it, and I'll feel a lot better.
Dude, I don't even know I had a tier like that, but I'm down. Fuck it. Listen, no, it is amazing to have your kind of support, Bill. I will say you've always been my big bro since coming into my life, and I appreciate you so much. And all my Patreon members, thank you guys. If you're looking for exclusive content, if you ever want to hang out with people like Bill Stiegel, join the Trap Talk Patreon family. The very first link you see in the description below, okay? Because if you really want to get on that list, that pre-party, that Arlington pre-party, best way to do it is through me. I just got to tell you that right now, okay?
And Susie just posted my promo code for Ship Reptiles is Stiegel15.
Stiegel15. Thank you, Susie. There it is. All right, double dip on that. But guys, do me a favor. Do what you got to do to stay hydrated. We all know Bill's staying hydrated. That's for damn sure. Okay, do what you got to do to get your mind right. But this is an epic elite green tree python talk coming at you right now with nobody's killing it more than this guy on the West Coast. I'll tell you that much. House of Blue coming at you right now, episode 379. Let's go. Good. You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes,
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
And we're live with my man, Garrick, the House of Blue. What's up, player?
Hey guys,
Hey, Garrett.
nice to finally meet you, Bill. It's been how many years now?
A long time, man.
Yeah,
Wait, you
it's
guys
finally
never
happened.
met?
We've texted, we've messaged, but never like this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is honorary. So
This is legendary. This is great. This is an awesome moment, man. No, for real. Before we get into things, how long have you known about Bill Stiegel? And then Bill Stiegel, how long have you known about Garrick? And Garrick, go first.
definitely a lot longer than he knew about me. I'll tell you that. Probably, I want to say 5.5 years. Slightly before or after I got into chondros, I started seeing the mayor of Chondro Town's post. It was pretty cool.
Oh my God. Garrick, good to have you here tonight. And I want to say it's been well over a year since I've had our first podcast together on this show. And one thing I love about what you do, it's less, but way more. And what we mean by that is like, you're not here cranking out fucking record breaking clutch number of clutches, but what you're producing, man, some of the best that this game's ever seen. And you've had 2 clutches this year so far. And again, those are the only 2 clutches you're going to have for the year, correct?
Yeah, I'm done. I mean, I'll pair again in winter, but not for this year or last year, I guess, the previous season.
So let's talk about the first clutch. What was let the people know what exactly the pairing was and what this line is to you and whatnot.
So this first clutch is Blue Moon to Xenon. Blue Moon is an import, most likely wild caught, Wamena male. Nowadays, it's very hard to get your hands on a Wamena male, let alone one that looks like that.
Right.
So I was very excited, of course, when I first got him, and I'm even more excited now that I'm breeding him again to his daughter, which is Xenon. I don't really have a photo of her up there because up until recently, she was not the most phenotypically advanced female. Now, as with many animals from the Wamena line, she's starting to pick up blue. She's 5 years old. It was a father-daughter, and I raised her since she was a baby. She's actually the first chondro I got, like from the group, in the first group, like with the Wamenas and everything.
So there's not a pic of that pair on your page, is what you're saying?
There is. Scroll up.
Okay. Scroll up.
Yeah, keep going. It's all the way up.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
here we go.
there.
Right.
There. You missed it. It's
Right
right there in the middle. There we go.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
So this is the pair we're talking about, guys, just so you guys know. Okay, but continue, please.
Yeah, so she started picking up blue around the heads and neck, but nothing really worth mentioning, nothing compared to the other stuff here. But it's really amazing when you get a chance to breed something that you raised since it was literally 30 grams. Actually, that one was 21 grams when I first got it.
Yeah,
So-
and Bill, for you to kind of capitalize on that feeling to raise something from a neo and then to watch it breed for you. Around what year was that for you, Bill?
Yeah, first, let me say hi to Garrick, and I've known about Garrick for a long time. I think probably about the same time frame that he's known about me. I mean, he's been a influential person in the chondro community for a long time. So I've known about him, about his work. He's right. To produce your first green tree is, it's something special. I'll never forget my first clutch. But then to see your offspring, to see those offspring reproduce it's just mind blowing, really. It's just like, you can't believe it happened. I had the first sickness offspring reproduce this year. I had 3 males produce, and man, you talk about just the ultimate fulfillment, in the hobby. It's just, I don't know how it could get any better.
That's a second generation for you, right?
Yeah.
First Cygnus and then Cygnus's baby.
Yeah. So and then I still have the Cygnus's father, Jaeger, 19 years old and still banging out 2 clutches a year.
Wow. That's the genetics.
I mean, listen, we all know Sickness, but man, his pops is the real fucking champ out of everything we're talking about here.
Yeah, and I always try to give Marshall Mendez credit, whenever we bring up the Sickness or Jaeger.
Right.
Marshall Mendez produced Jaeger, and I literally say, this is the house that Jaeger built. And that's literally, he's produced so many animals. I couldn't even give you a number of clutches or offspring he's produced. So, just a beast.
What is that? Sounded like a faucet was on. Guess we're good. Anyways. Okay, now I'm curious as far as the pairing we just looked at right now, Garrick. The introduction, or excuse me, the establishment of the first clutch that you've had to go through this year. What was that like? Was it pretty smooth, or let's kind of talk about that.
I don't even want to brag right now, but don't make me do it, MJ.
Please.
But each one of them ate on the first attempt. Each one of them.
How many eggs?
I had 22 eggs total, but not all of them made it. In fact, there quite a few I lost along the way.
Can we dive deep a little bit deeper on as far as when you lost those eggs? Was it right away? Was it like a few weeks in? When did you see these eggs crashing?
Okay, so 22 eggs, one of which was a slug that got tossed out. Slugs never have a chance at making it.
Right.
One of which was a boob egg that did not show any embryo. I always candle when I first get the eggs just to see what they look like. Usually the stronger the veins, the more chance at that baby being a very strong baby. But this thing had no embryo. That thing crashed pretty soon. And then I had 5 or 6 that appeared to be infertile. 2 of those crashed immediately, or 2 or 3, something like that. And then it was 2. Anyway, there were like another 3 that snakes were actually born from, and they're still alive and doing amazing. And there was no sign of embryo. There was no sign of any sort of veins. It was just a mass in there. So I don't throw away infertile eggs if they look like good from the outside, because that shit like that happens.
Right. So, do you mark the eggs a certain way when you don't see any good vein developments? Or like, do you do something like that?
So in fact, you'll notice if you look at some of the photos, if they're marked with an X, that means they're perfect eggs. If they're marked with an XO, that means that they only have an embryo, no vein structure. If they're marked with an O, that means that there is just a mass in there. Like there's no sign of an embryo, there's no sign of a vein structure.
Right.
And then if they're marked .00, then there's just nothing in there.
So this clutch, for instance, was this already separated from other stuff that you haven't candled, or I'm just curious how this clutch was pulled. Is this the whole clutch?
This is the next clutch, the one that happened exactly 2 weeks later from Blue Jay. It's a repeat clutch. Ovulation date exactly 1 year apart. 1 year and
on the dot. On the dot.
Yeah, and I paired her much earlier, both years, just to see. But every year she took at the same time.
How many eggs?
She gave 17 perfect eggs and very large. So.
Okay. And if we can kind of look at these eggs real quick, these, like when you look at these eggs, even you, Bill, these are good looking eggs. Like this is what you're looking for when it comes to you pulling a clutch, correct?
Yeah, they look great.
Right. Now, how many times do you see eggs look like this, but there's no vein development? That's also a thing, correct? So you can't really know until you kind of look to see what's in there, correct?
Well, in my experience, most of the time you see clutch like that, I'm surprised to not see good vein development.
So are those eggs with no vein development coming from eggs that are just discolored, smaller, or I'm just saying, because if you see eggs that look this good, can you just assume that they're good and put them away and not fuck with them? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I'll let Garrett comment, but you're not going to change outcome.
Right.
You know, you're just gonna. You want the torture early or late? You know, so I candle them, and I have a system similar to Garrett where I'll put a straight line through ones that look awesome and an X through ones that look questionable. And a lot of the times, most of the time, those X's I'll end up discarding sometime down the line.
And a lot of different methods, obviously, as far as using an egg box. Now, whatever choice of egg box that you guys use, Garrett, do you separate the eggs from the good eggs, or do you keep them all together and just line them together? How do you like to?
I separate all the eggs, and I've never found bad eggs to be detrimental to a clutch ever. Literally, I've had them touching in the incubator, and the good egg will never see mold. It just, I don't know how accurate this is going to be, so don't quote me on it, but I have a feeling good eggs, they have some sort of antibacterial quality on them that prevents them from hitting mold, because literally I've seen rotting eggs next to good ones.
Right.
And as far as the previous question that you asked, usually with the infertile ones, you won't see everything be perfect the way you did in that photo. Usually when a clutch has infertile eggs, you'll see windows, you'll see boob eggs, a slug in there or something. You know, it's never just like chicken egg looking the way that one was. So
yeah, I mean, these look goddamn perfect. Like seriously,
they were.
Yeah, I don't see any flaws in any of these, and I also think that's another thing to consider, because a lot of people, I mean, obviously the inexperienced like myself, you know, you look at eggs and you see them and you just, you know, like for me, I just hope for the best, right? And I fucking put them, because like you said, you're not gonna change any outcome. I mean, see what happens. Put them in the incubator and see what happens, right? But to kind of get more in depth, it's really comes down to just how they look, you know, if they have any vein development. And I think it's very smart to mark the ones that are stronger than the others, and just kind of just know what you think is going in your favor right off the bat, versus don't be upset when these ones fucking shit the tank, because more than likely that's what it's going to do, you know?
I can actually answer the question. You know, the reason why those ended up looking like that, they were 17 in that one. There were 22 in the Blue Moon Xenon clutch.
Right.
Xenon is 200 grams less than Blue Jay, and yet she produced more eggs.
Wow.
So Blue Jay put all that mass into those eggs, and she made them bigger, more calcified, just stronger eggs in general. I feel like she could have if it was another female, she might have produced more eggs, but the quality would not have been the same. I feel like maybe when they do something like that, produce less eggs but better quality, I mean, I feel like that tends to be an outcome.
I would much rather see a smaller clutch size with bigger eggs. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's not always, you know, people think, oh, the bigger the snake, the more healthier eggs I'm going to get. That's not the case. You know what I mean? And I'm curious, like, do you feel like, because the one that you got the one that gave you 17 eggs, she's younger, correct, than the other snake?
No.
She's older.
The other one is 5 years old. She was a first-time female. And then Blue Jay, I believe, is 10 or 11. So she's one of my younger ones, actually.
So Blue Jay's the one that's on the slimmer side.
No, she's 1,200 grams. The other one's 1,000 grams. But the smaller one gave more eggs.
Right. Okay.
So.
Right.
But again, the count is nowhere near as crucial as the quality of the eggs, and that goes with everything, in my opinion.
And refresh people's memories out there as far as the temperatures you like to roll with when it comes to cooking them, the eggs.
You know, I keep it very simple. 87 all the way through, except for the last 10 days, they get dropped to 85. That's it.
80. They get dropped to 85. 85.
Yeah, I drop them 2 degrees. I feel like at the last 10 days, the eggs start breathing.
Right.
You notice this because the incubator, the box itself starts just hitting all this fog and everything like that. And in fact, I've actually even once lost a few babies from it overheating, from having too many babies in one box. I use the same size box, same size everything. Everything's always the same. I never change it up. So, I mean, slightly, but yeah. So 85, I drop it there, and I feel like that's a good temperature for newborn babies.
We're talking like your typical shoebox size tub that you use, right? Now you don't use anything big, like, you know, or anything too small. That's your typical size boxes. And the substrate you use is Perlite, or what do you like to use as far as substrate?
I go vermiculite all the way, but honestly, it doesn't make a difference. The substrate isn't, it never touches the substrate. The substrate just keeps the water from sloshing.
Right. Okay. Yeah, Bill, are you straight over water? I can't remember.
Straight over water.
Okay.
Straight over water.
Right. And Bill's a little higher on heat. You go 88, right, Bill, or 87 and a half? Remind me again.
Like 87 and a half. You know, but who knows? Maybe it's 87, maybe it's 88. I think temperature consistency is more important than, you know, your actual temperature. Like, you know, you want your temperature to be like this, whether it's 86, 87, 88. You don't want swings in your temperature.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I shoot for 87 to 88. I typically do not lower my temperatures towards the end. I'll ventilate the tubs a lot more to release some of that heat. But this year, you know, at one time I had 4 clutches in the incubator at the same time. So I didn't want to drop temps in a clutch that's due to hatch in a week.
Yeah.
The clutch was just laid a week, you know, earlier. So
what day do they hatch for you?
Day 49 or day 50.
Day 4. Okay. Yeah. When it's hotter, they hatch directly on the dot, right?
I've been real consistent at day 49. Dave D, I was talking with him. He thinks I'm actually running hotter than that. He thinks at 87 and a half they should be hatching at day 52 or something. But so who knows? I've put every known thermometer known to man in the incubators. They're all pretty consistent to within a degree. So I don't really care as long as they hatch.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you caught wind of my, you know, tragic clutch experience of 2023 with my chondros and whatnot. But, you know, I've been thinking, Bill, what else could it be? The fact that I was going in and out of this walk-in incubator almost every other day fucking with the temps. And I got to tell you, as soon as you open this walk-in incubator, goddamn, whatever temps you have in there sucked out as soon as you open that door. Yeah. And I don't think those eggs can handle that type of shit. And
I don't think so either. You don't have like a heat sink in that walk-in incubator. Like even in my incubator, that's a lot smaller than that. It's, you know, Snapple machine or whatever. But I've got big jugs of water in there that act as a heat sink. So when I open that door and it's open for a couple of minutes, close the door, the temperatures aren't dropping dramatically.
Yeah.
I think your idea, MJ, of putting an incubator inside your walk-in incubator is for the chondros is the way to go.
No, actually, you want to check this out? I showed on my next vlog. But I at the last show I was at, KG, shout out to KG Bomb Project. You met KG and D.
I love KG and D.
So they had this fucking sick ass looking 6 foot tall incubator made out of PVC, and it has 2 front doors that open up.
Yeah.
And I bought it. I was like, fuck, I need that. So I bought it now, and just my room looks fucking weird because now I have a big ass 6 foot incubator in front of a walk-in incubator. Just doesn't make any sense. But now I have a peace of mind because now I could just do what I need to do with those the lower temp stuff. And mind you, I'm still going to use the shit out of that bigger one. But I do want to figure that out. I do want to know if I have to put in a mini AC unit or something to keep that incubator cooler, because I don't want to have 2 fucking incubators like this. This is crazy. But I'll do what I have to do. Don't get me wrong. I want these eggs to make it, but I'm just saying, I don't know, Garrett, what do you think about fluctuation with temps? Do you feel like that's an easy recipe for disaster for your eggs?
It is the recipe for disaster.
All right.
It's always about keeping it simple. I mean, everything I do here is built around 2 principles. Keep it simple and golden mediums. Never go too high, too low, too big, too small. Keep it medium. Keep it simple. The more you add things to your incubation, chondro keeping, the more you're going to mess it up. And that's not you, obviously. I mean, hypothetically, or generally speaking, you know.
But, you know, there are people out there that do Like personality wise, I am the person to fuck with something when you don't need to fuck with it, and you're gonna learn the hard way if you do that with chondros, and I've had learned the hard way quite a bit. So I'm very confident. Let's just say for whenever I do get my next clutch, because now I have this goddamn fucking new thing from KG&D, which I'm very thankful for. But just not messing with them, keeping it simple, keeping that gradient that they need, and just don't fuck with them. And I do want to continue more, guys, as far as once you get to the last final 10 days, okay? How often are you guys opening up the lid or just airing them out? Do you guys do any of that, or do you not fuck with them at all? And Garrett, I can't remember if you even have holes in your tubs. I don't remember you saying if there's holes in your tubs at all.
Should I go first?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Yeah, I keep pre-poked holes in my tub, and I use the little cabinet bumpers. Is that what they are? The self-stickies. So I just knock them off.
Okay.
Last days, like either slowly or all together. I've found it makes no difference, because this year I decided to just see what happens if I don't do it. I just opened up one, and there was absolutely no difference whatsoever.
Ooh.
But I do feel like it does help with the breathing and stuff, just having somewhere where it can escape. And then what was your other question? You said every day do you open the tub? Yeah, every day.
So okay, so is this is only for the last 10 days, or do you do that
all 50? Well, for me it's 51 to 53 days, but all 51 to 53 days I'm opening, cleaning it, and then putting it back, and then leaving it be, just bringing guests over to look at it.
Even if you don't see any water droplets at all, you still give them fresh air every single day and put them back?
You always see water droplets. It's the water droplets are a result of either a temperature fluctuation or a humidity fluctuation. There's always going to be a difference between the outside of your egg box and the inside of your incubator. Every day you're definitely going to see it. So every day I feel like you should probably clean it off so it doesn't fall on your eggs. But I'm sure there are times where like there's almost nothing there, you know?
So I'm saying, if there's times where there's nothing there, you still open it up and air them out, or is it only when you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every day it's routine. Like nobody talk to me for 30 seconds, putting my phone down, you know, lock the dog out of the door, out of the room, just do your thing.
How long do you air them out for? Like, I'm just curious how long you like to open the lid and put them back. Like,
however long it takes for me to clean the lid. That's it. It's usually like maybe 15 to 30 seconds. It depends. Again, take your time with it. You don't want to shake the lid and have every baby be born lopsided. So
there are lopsided things out there.
It's happened before, so
for sure. Bill, do you do that? You open up the lids at all at a certain point? I mean, at any point, are you opening up the lids for your egg box?
Yeah. So, you know, everybody's going to be different, and that's why I encourage people, man, to really. It took me years to fine tune my incubator and my incubation boxes, and luckily I cut my teeth on ball python eggs and not green tree eggs. By the time I produced my first green trees, I felt my incubator and my boxes were pretty dialed in. But I'm different than Garrett. So the first 30 days, they are in an airtight container with air holes, but the air holes are covered.
Right.
I don't touch the box for 30 days. I don't open it. I don't find it necessary to wipe down the lid. I don't get that much condensation where there's you know, any chance that it might drip on the egg from the roof of the egg box. Now, after that, as those eggs are incubating, you know, Garrett's right. They're releasing heat. It's an exothermic reaction, and I'll open up those vent holes, you know, the last few weeks of incubation, and I'm opening that tub almost every day to exchange airflow, wipe down the lid of condensation. So that's pretty much how mine tend to work out.
And to repeat exactly what you said earlier, Garrett, it's usually the day 51, 52. That's always the day for you, correct? As far as when they hatch, it's like clockwork.
It depends how hot I keep it. Like this time this year, for example, was one of the first times it was day 50, but day 51 to day 53 almost always. Okay. And Bill's method is it inspired by the old methods where they would temp gun the female and they found that her body was actually at like 88, 89 out of curiosity? Is that why? The first 30 days?
Probably, but more directly, it's just like I do what Rico did. You know,
Oh, yep, yeah.
and I think that's probably how Rico came up with those temperatures.
Okay.
Now, are you big on temp gunning your females and whatnot, Garrett?
No, never. In fact, I don't measure humidity. I don't temp gun. Everything's eyeballed, and I feel like after some time, pretty much anyone who's spent time with chondros, they can eyeball it. I mean, it's like first nature. I'm sure to Bill or
I'm the
else.
same way. I've never temp gunned a female. I've never measured humidity. I've never weighed a chondro in my life. I have no idea, how much my females weigh. I do use a temp gun a lot though, and I use it to monitor perch temperatures, not female, not animal temperatures.
Do you think they're accurate? Out of curiosity, because I haven't found one that's been accurate for me.
I wouldn't know. I mean,
you calibrated it with the herb stat, I'm guessing, or
no? I mean, I don't know that a herb stat temperature probe is any more accurate than a Raytech temp gun.
Yeah, that's, I guess.
I just don't know. I just know what works for me, and so if I'm temping perches at 84 degrees, 85 degrees, that's great. Now, if I never see an animal under the heat, I'll crank it up a degree. I mean, if I never off of the heat,
I'll
crank it up. If I never see them under the heat, I'll crank it down. Just kind of read the animals.
Yeah.
In a common sense kind of temperature range.
Yeah, it's crazy because shout out to Mark Bailey, man. I love the guy, but he came in here busting my balls. He's like, MJ, stop worrying about water changes and fucking pick up a temp gun, because he's like, the temperature tells you everything what's going on in a female. And I know that is a certain tactic for some breeders where they do read the body temperatures. But I'm like, Garrick, I just want to keep it simple, man. Like, I just want to see. I want to see what I see. I see a lock. That's great. Ovulation, that's even better, and just go from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a lot simpler than people probably assume, especially like prior to eggs. The female, if she starts eating like a monster, she's growing follicles. You'll actually visibly see follicles in many females. If she's breeding very consistently, she's either growing those follicles or you have a very horny male.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and then they go off feed pretty typically. Of course, each one is different. They do some weird shit every time, but it's you kind of get a sense, like a lay of the land. It's if you see an ovulation, they can't reabsorb that. You wait for eggs.
All my females eat like monsters, bro. I don't even I don't know. I think the beauty about the chondro, right, is a well-established one, is those motherfuckers love to eat. You know what I mean? They all have that feeding response, a well-established one, right? But I'm curious, food cycling is something that you implement, or do you just keep the same feeding schedule throughout the whole year, Garrett?
No, I do food cycling and temp cycling, and I keep it pretty mild, actually. I never drop temps too low. Just nighttime temps and just a few degrees. In fact, if you want to know the truth, before I drop it very mildly first, and then if it's not working, I might drop it a little more to let them know they're deeper in the season. But that's for temps. And then for food, I'll just keep a very consistent meal plan every 2 weeks, jumbo mice. And in breeding season, I might just go a little bit sooner. Like instead of 14 days, I might go 10 days. I might do it a little bit more often. Of course, granted, the female's doing everything the way she's supposed to be, which I've also never found out to be an issue, because females, when they're growing follicles, they're pooping pretty fast, much faster than they would probably outside of the season. So usually it's never an issue, and then I never go over probably 5% of the female's weight. So that's one way, I guess we're a little different. Bill, I do weigh everything. It's been a practice since I guess I just first got started, because I really wanted to know the relations of like food size to animal, of egg size to food size. It's very fascinating.
Oh, yes. Let's talk more about this. So you're saying on the record you do not feed rats to your chondros?
No, I do. Yeah, I have no issue against rats. I think it's a bit absurd to cut your animal off of a rat because of some.
Yeah, you said jumbo mice. Well, is the jumbo mice something you switch to at a certain point, or I'm curious?
So rats in themselves, I do feed sparingly. I will tell you that I do not feed them as a staple. I do feed them occasionally to females that are breeding. So that's about it. I mean, I just find that jumbo mice are easier to digest. The same size has a decent amount of protein, a decent amount of fat reserves, decent amount of everything. Yeah, I mean, I've heard great things about ASF if you guys use ASF.
I do. No, I don't. They're called Kenya's hamsters. Never mind.
Well, I don't know about hamsters too much, but
we can't. You know, we can't have a certain thing called ASF where we live, unfortunately. So I got like the ancestor to them, which are like Kenya River hamsters. They're the same thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm just, you know what I mean. Whatever, dude. Come at me, wild fucking fish and wildlife. No, please stop. That's a joke. That's a joke. Real quick, hold on, because we're gonna dive deep on this food. I'm curious about you weighing your food, and before we do that, I want to shout this super chat right now. Shout the Legless Luxuries. But this is also something that I felt like, you know, again, holes maybe don't matter at a certain point, but if you were to put holes in your egg box, how many holes are you guys putting, and what is like the method of taking each hole off when you guys do, and whoever wants to go first.
Bill?
Yeah, so I use a soldering iron.
Hey, I can hear you guys. Keep talking, okay?
I use a soldering iron to put holes in my egg box, and I usually put six to 8 holes on each side. And then I'll take a piece of clear packing tape, and I'll just plaster it over those holes. And when it's time, I think it's time to start ventilating the box. There's no subtlety to it. I just take both the tape off, and that's usually the time that I'm starting to open up that lid every day, looking at the eggs, getting a little more ventilation, wiping the lid. So it's like Derek said, I don't overthink it. You know, I know in the beginning, I don't want a lot of air exchange, and I don't want, you know, I just want a very constant temperature in that egg box, and I want the highest humidity I can get, basically.
Yeah.
And then at the end, towards the end, I kind of want the opposite. I want a lot of airflow. I want to open the box a lot. I want to release those holes, let it ventilate, you know, 24/7. But again, it's pretty simple. Nothing real scientific to it.
You know, that's probably why you don't need to like remove the lid for the first 30 days, is because you keep it shut like that. It's never getting a chance to fluctuate too much.
That's right. There's no exchange between the thermostat, between the incubator and the egg box. It's constant temperature, and those eggs aren't releasing a lot of heat early on like that too. So, you know, I think the temperature inside the egg box is pretty darn close to the temperature outside the egg box.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the more you open the door, the more it's changing. But to answer Jason's question on my end, you know, I never really count, but it's probably a total of like 14, 15, maybe 12. It just the size of the holes, I guess, really is what makes the difference, you know. So,
right.
But,
you're talking about small holes.
Yeah, very small holes.
Yeah, small holes.
Right. Basically, like little pokes is what he's talking about, right?
Yeah.
In each
Yeah.
one.
Yep.
But you know, listen, this is all for you to figure out too, guys. Like you got to find out what works for you, and this is why some of this information can be kind of like overload. But you pick and choose what you feel like would work best for you, and don't get mad if they crash.
Actually, I'd like to add on to that, MJ.
Sure.
The problem happens primarily when people try combining multiple methods. Like Bill's method and my method are very different. If somebody watching this decides they want to do a little bit of both, they're going to severely mess up.
Yeah.
You know, there's no wrong way to do it if they're all hatching and they're all doing fine. But if, you know, they all have to hatch and do fine. So just pick a method that makes sense to you, whether it's either of ours or somebody else's, and just go with it. You know?
I agree 100%. Too many cooks in the kitchen will ruin the dinner.
Exactly.
And I have come across it many, many times when people have come to me and they're talking to me and they're talking to Patrick and they're talking to somebody else. And I'm like, listen, either talk to me or talk to Patrick, you know, or talk to whoever, you know, but you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble if you try to, you know, take all those methods and combine them. You're going to have to tweak anybody's method to suit your environment.
Right.
But, you know, just start with one.
I often tell people, ask the breeder that you got your animal from, because they were successful in producing that animal. So chances are, I mean, maybe the same incubation will work on that animal's eggs. I mean,
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, we think about how many teams there are in any kind of sporting activity, but then everyone has their own team coach, and you got to fucking pick who that coach is going to be. And mind you, it's cool to get advice, but if you're basically getting groomed by somebody and you're been taking their advice this entire time, and all of a sudden you talk to Patrick Holmes and you want to add his little spice onto things, you're really just fucking things up for yourself. And but it's also too to where, like, I don't know, like there's so many things that could go that could happen that could make you think like, well, what was the reason, right? And I don't know, like I want to talk a little bit more about we were talking about feeding, right? Like how a big female won't always give you healthy eggs all the time, or you know, you don't want a fat chondro first and foremost, right?
Hey, MJ, food cycling to me is one of the most interesting things in breeding chondros.
Yes.
Maybe because, at least for me, it's the newest thing that I've introduced. But food cycling, because I always light cycled and temperature cycled, but when I started food cycling is when I seemed to like take it up to the next level of like my success in producing green trees. That may be totally just coincidental, you know, that it happened when I started food cycling. But it's a very interesting concept to me because I've heard every person I talk to about food cycling seems to do it differently.
Right. And I want to talk about both your guys' way of food cycling. And if we can kind of maybe start with let's start with the female that's never even given you a clutch before. Let's talk about a first-time female that you're going to go ahead and pair up, right? How are we priming this female first and foremost, and what is it like feeding this female going into pairing and whatnot? Let's kind of get into that. Whoever wants to go first.
Do you want to?
Garrick, it's your show. You do it.
Yeah, Garrick, you go.
All right. Well,
you got the chair, bro.
So I would tell you this: going into the season, you never want to go in with a fat female. It doesn't matter if it's their first time, their 10th time. Fat female isn't worth, I guess, anything in my opinion, because it's chances are when you do start food cycling, she's not going to take it the same way another female is. You know, they're going to keep eating, they're going to grow those follicles thinking it's seasonal, there's more mice available, whatever. Fat female is just going to be like, I'm used to this, you know. But aside from that, I feel like in fat females, they end up skipping the signal. They just skip the signal altogether that they need to grow follicles. And then usually when they do, those follicles are not worth, like, they're not worth it. When they become eggs, they don't end up being good quality eggs. You know, you want them to gain weight, in my opinion, during the season. You don't want them to gain weight prior to that. You want them to go in very muscular, somewhat on the lean end with a good amount of padding, but not fat, if that makes sense. You want to be able to see those lateral lines. You want them moving, hungry, so that when you do feed them, they're taking it and they're sending that signal that, boom, it's winter or summer or whatever the hell sends them that signal that makes them want to, I guess, produce those follicles.
I agree. The only thing worse than an obese female in breeding season is an obese male.
Oh,
right.
Even worse. Bottom line, you don't want either of them to be fat.
Right. I mean, that both of those kind of take a part, obviously. I mean, but you know, for the most part, you always kind of want the leaner male, but I always think you don't want them too lean, right? Because that could kind of determine like their stamina through breeding, right? Like you still want a good, healthy eating male going into breeding all the time, correct?
Whatever goes into breeding season comes out much more rough, no matter what. Even the best chondro, whether it be male or female, if it's male, it comes out a little bit thinner, you know, because oftentimes, especially if you get something a little closer to its roots, or you get something maybe with a little more padding or more, I guess, fresh chondro memory, it might not eat. Males tend to go off feed very often. So imagine 2 months or 3 months of your male not eating and just consistently, you know, I guess breeding. And it's just, they're going to lose, even though they don't lose very much, Oftentimes that weight is actually dehydration that they're losing. Sometimes they won't lose any at all. They're still more rough than going in, and they're more stressed out. It's the time where people see the most amount of deaths. And as far as females go, if you had a successful breeding season, your female looks like a skeleton afterwards.
Right.
So-
And what's crazy is, like, I mean, Marshall's told us, Bill, about Versace having like less than a handful of meals a year. Like, the guy doesn't eat because he's always paired up, right? But he does eat. But then here we have a male that's 22 years old, or he's over 20, right?
Yeah, he's over 20. Yeah.
He's over 20, and he's still laying the pipe. You know what I mean? And it's nuts to see that within, like, you know, success within a male. How even though this male is over 20 years old, he doesn't eat a shit ton of meals. It's only eating, I guess, when it tells himself, hey, you got to at least get something in you, you know. Other than that, he's just all about the breeding. And, you know, go ahead.
Is he going with rats out of curiosity, or?
Yeah, he feeds rats to his chondros.
Okay.
Right?
I'm not sure, to be completely honest.
All right, we'll just go with rats. Sorry,
Yeah.
Marshall.
It's interesting because if they go rats, they can go longer period of time without eating. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit, where was I going to go with that? Oh, so okay, now the female part of things, what we were discussing as far as food goes. Obviously, the lean program is the way you like to take a female into going a breeding, but once you see that moment of her getting locks or whatever happening, like, what kind of bumps are you doing with the meals? Is that when you go to a rat, or do you go to a bigger size rat? And also, I don't want to skip on the whole, you weighing a rodent to make sure it's a certain weight within the snake or something like that. I want to talk a little bit more about that as well, if that's cool.
So when do I feed rats? I really don't look at it like that crazy. You know, like I don't go fanatical about, okay, this is the first week, I'm gonna give it a rat. No, like, you just toss it in. I will tell you this. I feed rats after they defecate. I usually don't like to feed them if they're like 3 meals in and they haven't dumped yet. You know, it's just, why tax the system?
Right.
But yeah, something like that. If they've defecated, you know, like they're about to go into breeding, I might give them a rat, that kind of thing. And maybe the next week they might get another one, or maybe they might get a jumbo mouse. It's really not as like precise and calculated as people might think. Just so long as they can handle it, why not give them a treat? And you give them an appropriate size treat, of course, so they don't end up, I guess, seeing any controversial effects from that. But
do you like to keep these treats at a certain point of the year, or do you don't, or you say all year round, you don't give a shit, you'll just throw it in whenever you want?
It doesn't really matter, if that makes sense, just so long as you're not going hardcore on it. You know, like, if you're going you can't get away with going rats every 2 weeks. Let me put it like that. With the same size rat as jumbo mouse, let's say 50 grams, and let's say your female is probably under 1,000 grams or 1,002. In my opinion, I think it might be a little bit much, unless she's gonna breed, I guess, very soon. I think it's a quick way to get fat, personally. But again, if you, maybe every 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe they'll handle that better. But I've never tried it to know if that makes sense. I have tried rats a little bit more, but usually you go a size down if you're gonna go with rats a little more consistently. So if they're going for a jumbo mouse, which is, let's say, anywhere from 30 to 60 grams, you want to feed a rat that's anywhere from 30 to 40, you know? Or maybe if it's a big enough female and it can handle it, you can go more. And when I say handle it, I know they can handle like triple that size if it, you know, but, or whatever, let's say a full grown adult. But why tax the system? Once again, if they're eating consistently every 2 weeks, you know, it's just too much, you know?
Bill, how do you lay this down, Bill, when it comes to feeding? I'm curious.
Well, I love this because, again, you know, you could bring 5 chondro people that have bred chondro successfully, and you'll get 5 different recipes, right?
Yeah.
So either my adult females, either really one of 2 things happening. I'm either getting ready to breed them, or they're recovering from breeding. And in both scenarios, I'm feeding them rats. I'm feeding them rats every 2 weeks. And I do go back and forth. 2 years ago, I started feeding ASFs. So they're getting a mixture of ASFs and rats for my breeding females. Males.
As of right now, that's still the mix, right? ASFs, rats, right?
Yep. 12 months out of the year.
That's just, I'm sorry, that's just a back and forth random thing. It's not strategically scheduled.
No, it's just when I'm feeding them, they're getting alternating rats and ASFs.
How far apart?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks roughly. But again, I may fast one a month if it looks like it's putting. Wow, you're getting kind of fat. No food for you for a month.
Right.
But like Garrick said, when these things breed, especially the females, when they get back on feed, they look like skeletons and they're ravenous. And so for a while, I'll feed those females. I'll feed them every week. A small rat every week until they get some of that size on and they don't look like they're just gonna fall off the perch and die. But then after that, they go back to their every 2 weeks, and most of my females get rested, every other year. So it's not a big race to put the size and the weight back on. But their metabolism is so, it's just so slow. They don't gain and lose weight fast. It's a very long period of time. So that's what works for me. Subadults. And
So I'm sorry, what size rat, Bill? I'm sorry. When you do feed a rat, what size rat is it?
like a weaned or a small rat.
Okay.
Now I've got some huge female green trees. I mean, big. I've got some big girls. They would take a jumbo mouse and laugh at it.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, they swallow it in one bite.
Yeah.
So those girls get small rats, or they get ASFs. Again, different people do things different ways. I think you just have to use some common sense and realize there's no absolutes in this. I hate when people talk about absolutes. Like never feed a rat, never do this. Never do that. It just drives me crazy. I think you have to know your animals and what works well for you or for your mentor or whatever. Try it. Spray. Don't spray. Never spray. Always spray. That stuff drives me crazy. You have to know your animals. You have to know your environment. Just use some common sense and some experience.
Yeah. Use your eyes too. Vert your eyes. I mean, reading body language kind of tells you everything with these animals as well. Like, especially the way it looks. I'm glad you brought that up, Bill. If you got a female that looks pretty big, don't feed it for a month. It's going to be fine.
It makes up for it, like if he's getting more calories, maybe it might take a month off, of just
absolutely. We're
not to very similar, approaches, kind of just done in different ways.
I mean, there's nothing consistent for these things in the wild at all.
Or if they go off feed, if a male goes off feed for 4 months, well, guess what? When it goes back on feed, I'm gonna feed it every week for a little while. Let him get his body stores back. Just common sense stuff. It's not rocket surgery, as I say.
Yeah. So going back to another crucial thing as far as to almost breeding anything successfully, we're talking about food and then also temps. And one of my biggest things I want to talk to both of you guys tonight, which is kind of another not intentional mind fuck by Mark Bailey, but he was paying close attention to the ambient heating temperatures in my room, because when he came to when he came to Anaheim Reptile Super Show, Bill, which you came to, right?
Yeah.
My AC unit wasn't. I did not have a mini split at the time. So, and we had these crazy. You know how we are in California. We'll have these crazy heat days. We'll have hot days and shit like that, right? So there was, and the way this room was too, Garrick, to remind you, the way it's insulated, it reserves heat. If there's no AC or anything in here and no like good ventilation, all the heat just fucking stays in this room. So I want to say I ran things kind of hot for like a few months because of the AC thing. And then also when I got the AC, I had an issue with it, so it was down. So then, mind you, I had, like I said, I want to say the nights were on like 80, 81 side. Let's just say 79 on the coolest. And then the high, and then the daytime stuff was like 86, 87, right? Yeah, right. So and that's what it was. And I had to do what I had to do to cool it down, and I cooled it down. But now I have the AC in here. It's fucking tits. Everything's controlled in here. Okay. And mind you, I have stuff paired up that's been paired up all year. and I didn't see much action during the beginning of me moving in here with these. Ever since I had this AC unit put in here and I cooled down the temps, motherfuckers are locking now. You know what I mean? And I told Mark, I'm like, dude, I have these snakes that fucking are just, they're going to town now ever since I cooled down the room. And he's like, oh, no, that might fuck you. That might not be good. And he's saying because you might push them into a cycle that they might not be ready for. And I want to know if that is true, if there is some truth to that, or is that really not the case, or what you guys have to think about that with temp, like, you know, having to be careful with how you heat a room and then cool a room and whatnot during the time of the year or anything like that. Mind you, none of these girls have ever given me a clutch either. These are all first-time female. Nope, I take that back. This one has laid for me right here, top one right there. So anyways, is that something to be concerned about, the fact that they had a hotter room and then I cooled it down and now they're pairing up and there could be some follicle building going on now? What anyone have anything to talk about on that?
Do you want to go or should I?
Well, I'll go first because I'll just honestly say I don't know, MJ. I really don't know, you know, the repercussions of that. I think in all these things like we've talked about, the go slow method is best. So if they're now getting an 8-degree temp drop from 86 to 80 or 78, you know, I don't know if that's the best thing for them. I have no idea how that's going to really affect their cycling and their follicular development.
What do you think, Garrett?
So being that I live in California, very close to you, I had something similar happen, but I do want to ask a question first before I speak my mind. Sure. When did you move the snakes in?
We moved in January.
So it's been 6 months. You're still okay. The snakes moved in on January though.
January, yeah, January. Okay. Beginning of January is when we all moved in.
6 months is decent time then for them to have coped, for them to have learned their cages. I would say I've actually paired in the middle of a heat storm and it's worked. They've taken. I've also looked into some other people who have done something similar. I would tell you that so long as the female hasn't already ovulated, you might not see any negative effects. This might have been a spark into getting them to breed, but if the heat storm had happened or the failure to escape from heat in the cage, because 86 throughout the whole cage is a nightmare. 86 in one spot and maybe like 78 in another, that's good, you know?
Right.
If they can't escape from the heat and they have the eggs, then chances are that she's going to send some funky signals to those eggs. They might just either take way too long to lay or be way too early, or the quality just might not be good. But I guess you got a little lucky that they have not ovulated yet.
Yeah.
And it sparks some breeding. Is it going to throw you out of cycle? It depends when you want to breed again. Do you want to be a summer breeder? I mean, not again. And this is only with some females. Not all females will breed at the same time every year. Some will.
Garrett, I want to breed any time of the year, buddy. Okay, I just want a fucking clutch that makes. It can be in Christmas. I don't care. I just want to be on your guy. I want to join your club so bad. I don't give a fuck.
I would say as long as it works with you, if you can do it, then hell yeah, why not? Just remember to try it again later when she gets ready. I mean, some people don't like to breed in summer, you know, having to raise babies in wintertime in a non-insulated room. If your room is not insulated, that might be a nightmare for you, you know? There's nothing worse than the cold to get a baby feeding. I mean, if it's cold, it's a nightmare to get established. So
yeah.
MJ, I was going to say, you know, we've talked about this before. The fact that you just moved put you a little bit behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. I mean, I moved too. I moved 4 years ago. I didn't breed a single chondro the year I moved because I just didn't want the hassle. You know, I didn't want the potential disappointment. So, you know, if you don't breed this year or you don't have a successful year this year, you know, I can really chalk it up to the fact that you move those animals. They're not like ball pythons, man. You know, I would move a ball python and breed it the next day.
Right.
These things are they're more sensitive to their environment. And so just, you know, cut yourself a little slack this year.
So a lot of you guys,
type of delicate.
I'm sure you guys both experienced females that you've paired up that just didn't go for the year, right? Obviously that is a normal thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So when do you call it quits for the male for the year? Like, well, when do you look at it and say, you know what, I'm going to stop pairing this male to this female?
Do you want to go first or should I?
Well, that's a good question.
Because Bill, correct me if I'm wrong. There is something that is said where people just leave the mail in there until shit goes down. Like they never take the mail out, whatever, like whatsoever.
You know, I've tried that and it didn't work for me that well. I've been better off just being much more of a seasonal breeder. And, you know, if they don't breed for me in the winter, you know, I give them the appropriate time. And if they're getting the locks in and it doesn't happen, it just doesn't happen. I don't keep pushing them. I want the males and I want the females to be on a cycle. And that's just what works for me, you know?
Yeah. You know, and like, you know, I don't know. I like the fact that because what's funny is like I literally was like, you know what, I'm gonna pull these males here soon just because I need maybe a reset, like just a little bit of a reset and just kind of let things chill for a little bit. And then I just came in here one morning and they were all fucking locking. And I was like, oh, holy shit, let me just chill for a little bit. You know what I mean? And that's why I was like, why would I remove them now? You know what I mean?
I before that 100%. I would keep pairing them because you're on a weird cycle, MJ.
So Garrick, I had one pair that showed some sort of like the male maybe locked her. I want to say around February, March is when I saw him do maybe a little bit, and then I saw nothing for months. And like I said, that's when it got a little bit warmer here around SoCal, right? And then we had, you know how wet we had a really wet year at the beginning of this year. We had a lot of rain, which we normally don't have. But then right after that rain, we had like a crazy hot day. You know what I mean? And so it was really like
disgusting.
Yeah, really inconsistently disgusting warm, you know, warmer than I wanted it to be. And so, like I said, as soon as I was able to, now this room is 75. I have this room at 75 all the time now. And they have their hotspot of 86 and a half. They have 86 and a half. This side is about 78. Okay. So they have their range, right? But as soon as I did that, now I'm seeing the action that I was trying to see during the time it was the pair in SoCal, which is our winter, and our winter usually doesn't start till like February, January, you know what I mean, compared to everyone else. So and I'm also somebody to where, like, you know, where we live, Garrick, there is no fucking, we don't have weather routines here. It's not real life. It's like, and Texas is kind of the same. Like, I mean, Texas, actually, no, I take that back. You guys have some cold winters, don't you?
We get more winter than you do, for sure.
Yeah, never mind. Take that back. Texas
houses are really insulated, aren't they? Like they go pretty hard with the foam. You don't feel that effect inside the house, right?
Say that one more time.
Do you feel that? I was asking Bill if he feels the effect of the winter or the summer.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No, definitely feel it. Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Hey, shout out to Mama Lily in the house. She's saying hi to Uncle Mayor.
Hi, Lily.
So
how's the boy doing?
Oh, dude's a monster. We call him the Leche King. He does not stop.
Leche King.
Yeah, he just
love it.
Yeah. That's one holdback I'm proud of. Let's just say that, you know, hasn't prolapsed, so thank God.
You know how to breed the important things, MJ.
Oh God, no, right?
You're a proven breeder now.
Right, exactly. Garrick, that being said, how many you do have your females all go around the same time of the year, or do you have maybe that one female that goes off that will go for you in summertime if she needs to?
So as I told you earlier with Blue Jay, for example,
right,
she ovulated the same time both years. That was in summer. So for whatever reason, she just goes in summer. And then same with that other female, Xenon. She also ovulated 2 weeks prior to that in summer, both of which were paired in January.
Right.
I moved in last year in August, September, something like that, with the snakes and everything eventually. And I guess after a few months, she did take. And to answer your question, I've never had a female not take. They've always taken. Whether or not it was a good clutch, that's in the air, but they've always taken. If you put a good male in there long enough, and your female is, again, good, and when I say good, I mean like she doesn't have any problems with her. She's not like sterile, you know, she's not undersized or oversized, just an average female and an average male that, let's say, does drop plugs, things like that. They will eventually take. I mean, it will happen. It's just, do you really want to wait like a whole year? No. I found January to be the best time in which my snakes personally take. So maybe that might apply to you as well, MJ, being that it's similar climates. But January, for the most part, has been very consistent in having the most amount of females take, with a few exceptions in like February.
You know, that's exactly where my females are on too. They're breeding heavily in January, February. Most of my eggs are laid in March. You know, around late in the spring. But yeah, a lot of heavy breeding in January and February.
Now, I will tell you, the one female that I'm very confident that will do the routine that me and Garrick are speaking about, pairing up in January, shit will go down around March, April, right? In a sense, yeah. So it depends, right? If everything goes to plan, right? If everything goes to like locks, fucking ovulation, pre-lay shed, all that shit, right?
You want to make the chondro gods laugh, man.
Like, yeah, keep talking, MJ. We're listening, motherfucker.
Keep talking, MJ.
Actually, yeah, you know what? I'm not even gonna say what I was gonna say. Fuck that. I was
not say it, please.
No, I'm scared now.
It just never goes as planned. It never goes as planned.
Because okay, one thing that I'm paying a lot of attention to is like how much breeding takes out of a female. Like it definitely does a toll on them, and so I don't look at any kind of financial gain first and foremost because I haven't even gotten there yet as far as what these snakes do for me. But I do want to keep them with me as long as I can, and I do know that I'm very adamant about giving the year break. Like, if they give me a clutch, I just because I have a lot of other options, I want to give that girl a good year off just because I want to maybe give her that extra time to hang out and be with me, right? And that's what I did with Mimi. Mimi is the very first chondro I've ever gotten from my wife. Shout out to my wife, but she got me this chondro, and she, the clutch I laid with her that she laid for me 2 years ago. Not sure exactly what the deal was with that with those neos, but I do know I had a few go full term and whatever. But I went through the ringer. But now this one right here, I gave her the year off. This year I feel really confident because she's lean. I kept her on the smaller side. Like this was my first experiment where like, okay, you gave her a year off and now you're keeping her meals respectable, because normally I was like the ball python guy where like everyone gets a medium every fucking 2 weeks, like overkill, man, just feeding way too fucking much. And that is a recipe for disaster, obviously, with what we're talking about here. So late to it, but obviously I'm figuring it out now. And so 2 years, and I've gotten 2 clutches from her, by the way. She's giving me 2 clutches, and every time was April 17th was one, and the 21st was the second one. Yeah. But that's the one I see that is on that schedule if it goes down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, I'm just like, I think not only patience, but man, just I don't know. I feel like feeding is so important. Probably the most important, I would say, other than temps. Obviously, temps are the two biggest things, but I would say those two need to be dialed in, I would say, in order for you to have any success, you would say, other than maybe luck. But I mean, okay, let's talk about this real quick. Now that, we're talking about the fluctuations I had with my walk-in incubator, right? And I had those neos that did go full term and then died, but even the ones that like poked their heads out. Now, mind you, how many times are you dealing with a neo that goes full term in the egg and it just droops over dead? Garrick, how much has happened to any clutch that you've experienced?
Goes full term and then just comes out the egg and dies?
Yeah, or nothing even happens and you have to go in there and see why isn't this thing coming out and it's just dead in the egg.
It doesn't happen often. That's usually either a heat issue or a genetic issue. If it's happening through different clutches, it's probably not a genetic issue for you. It's almost definitely heat. It does sound like you're struggling with heat there, like getting it consistent. So chances are, if it's coming out the egg, then boom, dead. Maybe it like the heat during incubation could have easily caused the problem too. I mean, overheating.
I
mean, let me ask you, did you, it's pretty funny because some people, they might see an animal like a neo that looks extreme looking and it hatches out and dies, or is just dead in the egg, and they'll be like, oh, it's always the best ones. They seem to forget that it's not the best ones. These neos are not fully changed yet. They
look crazy.
Yeah, with these amazing, fantastic colors.
That's
because
true.
It's not a fully mature animal yet. And chances are it died of heat. And then also, if you're seeing, maybe there's like a pinstripe looking pattern that happens to some of these animals that have gone through some weird temperature fluctuations. you'll notice it. Like a large majority of your clutch will probably pass, and then maybe a couple that survive might have a very like thin pinstripe. That could also be from heat-related issues too. I mean, so if you see things like that, just to keep an eye out for it. Heat is usually the killer of chondros, I would say, in incubation.
In the year before that, remember what I went through the year before that, Bill? Remember I had 5 great looking neos.
Yeah,
they all prolapsed one after another. So
yeah, prolapsed, and a couple of them were poor feeders, right?
Yeah, 2 of them were poor feeders, but then I think 2 of them were the ones that had issues eating, but then there was one that never even had its first shed.
Yeah,
like it was eating, shitting, but it wouldn't shed. It would go into shed, but it wouldn't shed. It happened like 3 times, and then I walk in one day and it's gasping on the floor and dying, and I'm like, "What?"
I haven't seen that. These things are weird, man. You'll see different weird ass things all the time. I've never seen that. I've seen the babies that missed their first shed, but 3 weeks later or a month later they have that second shed.
Right.
But I've never seen one like that just never shed, and I don't even know what to say about that.
And honestly, I get that there's one-off situations or things that will happen in anything that you breed where it's like, whoa, that's weird, right? But prolapses, that's one thing that really fucking gutted me last year was having something eat like a monster, and I'm like, oh, this is great, I'm good. No, you're not good, because look what happened. Prolapse, right? What would you think that came from, Garrick? Because
your water.
What?
Yeah, I've never subscribed to the belief that prolapse just happens because the animal is the feeder is too big. I think there's something off with your water quality.
I was using good purified water from the store.
You're not changing it enough then. I mean, it's
what, bro? Garrick, I am the king of water changes, bro. I change water. I change waters 3 times a day if I need to. No, seriously, there's no way, because I change waters a lot. I really do.
Are you monitoring its poop, like how often it poops?
Okay, all the poop. I will tell you that none of them had good solid shits. They were all wet shits.
That should be amazing for you then.
What do you mean? Like, I'm just saying. I never saw a solid poo. It was always like diarrhea type poo.
I never see a solid poop until they're like 4 months old.
Okay, all right. So
you're talking about babies?
Yes.
Babies.
Oh, my bad.
Oh my God, Garrick, come on, bro.
We're
talking the neonates, bro.
Okay. So what kind of prolapse is it? Because some babies, they'll have this baby prolapse, the neo prolapse. I'm sure you've seen it, Bill, where it's like maybe like the size of a pencil dot that might come out.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no! This shit's it was a balloon.
And then there's massive ones.
These were prolapses where I could have sworn these were not going to go back in. I was like, oh, I'm going to kill this thing right now. But obviously, shout out to Gary Shabino, the sponsor of tonight's episode. He has a video on what to do with prolapses, and I did the sugar thing, and that thing fucking shrunk. It shrunk, and it went back in. I couldn't believe it. Waited a month, fed it, boom, did it again.
So I would say if it's a baby, then it's a very different story. It's either going to be one of 2 things.
Yes.
3 things, I guess. Hydration is always what I go to first, because hydration is the #1 most important thing when it comes to, I guess, keeping an animal from prolapsing. Good, clean, quality water. Then if it's a genetic issue, there's nothing you can do about that. But third, I would say if it didn't clean itself properly, if it's giving a wet shit, and let's say some of it gets stuck on part of that is it called the colloquia? What is it called? That last end bit where the poop comes, the excrement comes out. I think that's what it's called, right, Bill? I mean,
cloaca.
Yeah. If it's some animals actually push that area out a little bit more than others when they're pooping, and I guess if it doesn't get fully cleaned, it irritates it and it tries getting it out. And the more it tries rubbing against surfaces, the more it gets scratched, the more it wants to push it out more, because it's now, even if it's clean, there's, let's say, scratches on it and it's thinking it's dirty. So it's going to keep pushing and pushing. It's not soothed enough.
You're saying I wasn't wiping my Neo's ass enough, is what you're telling me. And
how it progressed. If it was like immediate, then that's a different story. But if it was like little by little and then boom, it got worse, yeah, you probably need to wipe its ass.
All three of these dirty motherfuckers had ass problems like this. This is great. Is this just bad luck, you would say? Or I mean, I'm just trying to see. I mean, but there's nothing from the hold on. You just say genetics. So there is a possibility where it's a genetic.
Don't blame genetics. Don't run to blame genetics.
No, I didn't. No. Oh, but you said something about genetics. So was that when you thought I was talking about adults?
Yeah, well, no, that's when I thought you were talking. It's more often than not, genetics will apply towards the baby. You'll start seeing it early on if it's a prolapser. But I mean, again, it's rushing to judgment. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's chances are it's probably something else. It's just, you know, it's if you've reviewed everything and you're saying it's clean, it's good, you know, like you wiped its ass and everything was good, then yeah, I would say maybe if it might be something like hidden in the genes. I mean, again, these things have like 18 babies. You know, not all of them are meant to survive, maybe sometimes, but again, I don't rush to that judgment always unless it's necessary. So.
Somebody said on an episode when we were talking about something like this that it's, and because one of the things I was offering back then, because I had something alive to offer, was the red pinks, like they were like literally day one pinks. Okay, I heard it's not always good, or maybe it's not good to feed something that just has little less calcium in it or hardly any bone.
For what, a baby?
For neonate, right?
Do you want to take this, Bill? I mean,
well, I mean, God, I've talked about prolapse and neonate nutrition and have banged my head against the wall so many times. But basically, whether you're talking about a red pink or you're talking about a mouse pink that's 3 days old or 5 days old or a week old, they're all horrible nutrition sources for the animal. I mean, you just look at it. You pick it up and you look at it. It looks like a bag of blood. Yeah. And there's no structure in it. There's no bones. There's no fur. There's no texture. You know, it's just really the worst thing you could try to feed a baby. And I think that in the, you know, after, like Garrick said, you rule out hydration. You know, you've got to look at nutrition as a reason, you know, why these things prolapse. Now, listen, you may feed an entire clutch of 20 the same damn thing, and only 2 of them prolapse. Well, you know, why is that? And I don't know what the answer is to that. You know, some of them I think anatomically are just more set up to do it. But I really think the fact that we're feeding these things a horrible nutrition source for the first, 3 to 6 months of its life, we're not doing it any favors there.
Yeah, pinkies are all fat. I mean, and in the wild, they're eating like lizards, if I'm not mistaken.
They're eating, right? Absolutely. They're eating lizards. They're eating,
primarily as babies, they're just solely lizards.
Or even, some people, think, and that there's some evidence that they're eating insects in the wild as well.
Yeah, roaches.
Yeah.
Who was it? Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Rich Crowley, I think it was, where he knew of somebody in the late 90s or someone experiments feeding roaches to their neonates, because they're talking about how that's usually the first piece of fucking food that they get in the wild is an insect. And obviously we've seen a lot of venomous snakes eat insects. I mean, I've seen certain type of species of snakes eat insects. So what would make that any different for a baby chondro?
Yeah, one thing we know for sure is they're not eating mice pinks. We know that for sure.
Chick fuzz on it, chick down.
Yeah, with chick fuzz on it.
Yeah.
Well, at a certain temperature.
I think prolapse is just one of those things for now. We don't know the answer. We do the best we can, expect it to happen with these things, and just, do the best we can.
What is your go-to then for your neos? Like once the first mealtime is happening, Garrick, what do you like to offer?
The first one, I always go with pinks. If they're
the smallest ones you could find, like, do you like to go the smallest, or do you have a just?
No, but definitely not. I mean, again, it depends on the size of your neo. If it's an average size neo, if 8 to 12 grams, I would say is probably average. I would say 1 gram pink should do nothing. That's like a 10% thing. You'll see a visible bump, but that's about it. I mean, an average pink would be fine. If it's over 12 grams, let's say, because actually I'll show you, I brought some of the neos here as a special treat, because we got 2 legends in the house, MJ and Bill. But yeah, I'll show you the visible difference between a baby from Blue Jays clutch that's born at 16, 17 grams and one from Blue Moon Xenons that's maybe 10 to 13. The Blue Moon Xenons took down a meal, which is a regular size pinky. That's maybe 10% of its body weight. That should do nothing for a snake that big. You know, it should be fine. The Blue Jays that are 15, 16 grams, let's say, they can handle something a bit bigger. So the first meal for them, I'll go large pinkies. And then if anything ever gets born that's less than 8 grams, let's say 7, 6, then you might want to start looking at those smaller pinkies in the bag and things like that. Because if it's born small, you already don't want to be messing with it too much. And it's very crucial to get it eating right away. So again, you don't want to stress it out, but you also need it eating. I mean, what about you?
A lot of times I'll find that these babies, even if they're relatively good sized, they will strike but drop a larger pink. But if you give them a smaller pink, I don't know if it's a weight issue or what it is, but if you give them something smaller, then they'll strike and they'll actually, eat that. So I agree with Garrett. You want to give it an appropriate size meal, the biggest appropriate size meal that they'll take.
Absolutely.
But sometimes they won't. And sometimes they won't take the smallest one you can find. And that's when you got to revert to, giving them just heads.
Absolutely. I love that. That was the best way you put it. How was it? The biggest that they'll take at that size, that's appropriate. Because like you said, some of them will drop, and that does happen. And that's where the pinky head comes in handy. They just can't drop it the way their teeth are structured. So,
And there's a lot of different approaches, I guess, to offering your neonate its first meal. And this is what's crazy is like so many people tell me that they're down to do pre first shed meals, like meaning like before it has its first shed, just offer it meal and that does wonders for it, but they don't do it consistently, and I don't understand how that works. Do you consider that at all when it comes to you offering meals to your neos for the first time, pre shed first meals?
You want to go or should I?
Oh, Gary, it's you, buddy.
So I would say the first half of the clutches that I've produced, I was feeding them all pre-shed. As in, I wasn't going hard. Whichever would take, they take. I will tell you this: they do grow amazingly if you can feed them pre-shed, and very often a lot of them will take. I mean, good chondros, they'll take. But, and here's a big but: an animal that might reject before it shed might become a difficult snake after it sheds too.
Right.
So that's a downside to feeding before shedding. And it's not always, it's just every now and then, but nobody wants to have to deal with something that's 2 sizes behind the rest of the clutch. Also, one of the pros to feeding, I guess, after the first shed, it's very, very easy in comparison. So the last 2-3 clutches, I had so much going on. I just waited a couple days till after they shed. They all shed at the same time, probably because I didn't stress them out too much, with getting them to eat. And boom, 12 out of 14 ate just like this, no dropping, nothing. The other 2 still have yet to shed. So I just didn't bother with that because I do prefer my life easier, because then their life gets easier. And when their life is easier, my life is easier. So,
amen.
I mean,
I think a couple of things, and Garrett, just what he said reminded me of this, is we always talk about bad feeding chondro babies. And I think it's one of those things that if you really look at it, the majority of them eat just fine the first time. I mean, you could, have no experience at all. And in the majority of baby chondros, you take a pink and you put it on tongs and you put it up to the baby, or you give it a little tickle on the side of the neck. The majority of them are going to eat. But we tend to focus on the minority that don't eat, and so all of this.
The negative.
How terrible they are to get feeding and all this. But the truth of the matter is that the majority of them will eat fairly easily their first meal, and you don't have to be a chondro whisperer to get them to eat.
pretty much.
Not to say that there can be clutches where 10 out of the 12 are problem feeders. That can happen, and it's happened to me. But like Garrick's clutch, you can have 14 out of 14 eat their first meal. You know, and a 6-year-old boy could have fed them, and they're gonna eat.
Exactly.
So
just so long as you're patient and you're over 6. You know, actually, it's funny. I heard a quote. It says, "The 1% of snakes are causing 99% of my problems." Yeah. So
it's true, and I think we, you know, by human nature, we focus on the failures or the difficulties, and we don't look at the other majority that do just fine. So, you know, I think we have to keep that in perspective.
I wanted to give the last 30 minutes of this episode to a little bit of show and tell, man. And I know you got some good shit over there, Garrick. What do you want to show us real quick, buddy?
All right. So let's start with some neos. Neos.
I thought you said nidos. I'm like, what?
I didn't actually. Some neos.
Freudian slip.
All right, let's go. My nose is a bit closed right now, so
you're good, buddy.
All right, should we bring them here?
Yeah. What do you think of that chair, Bill? You need one of those.
I'm sitting on a fucking look at what I'm sitting on.
Damn, is that what they use at WWF?
No.
Wrestlers with?
I'm getting in a chair like that. That's a throne.
They actually are. You like this one too. So.
Oh, look, he has another one. Wow.
That's what the mayor should be sitting in.
It's true. I'll send it over to Texas.
All right, show us some good stuff, buddy. I'm gonna give you the big screen, okay, Garrick? So it's all you.
Yeah, of course. So I brought back some of the holdbacks from the clutches. So, and you can see the visible size difference too. So let's go here. Here we go. You know what? This isn't gonna be easy. Let me just pull them out one by one.
Yeah, you're good. I would just maybe put them in front of the camera. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So here are a few things so you can see. This is what a Neo looks like after its first meal.
And go ahead and break down the pairing for this Neo, if you don't mind, and you know what the line.
This is Blue Moon Xenon. The father-daughter from my Wamena to Wamena Monaquari clutch. So
and how many meals did you say that one has in it?
Just one. Had its first meal.
Just one meal. Wow.
Yeah. So these guys, they weren't born. You know, a lot of people they're like, oh, like what's new? Every time I say like, oh, these guys are born massive, but these weren't born particularly massive. They were just born normal, good size. You know, 10 to 12 grams. They each took their first pink, so you can visibly see. Or actually, you can't see it anymore. They've already digested it. It's been like a day or two. They digest real fast like this. So then, and then the last one, I'm going to bring you, let's say, one of the Blue Jay babies, and you're going to see the visible size difference between an animal that has its first meal and an animal that hasn't had its first meal, but is just born very big. They're already so much further ahead. So when I say they can eat large pinks, it's not really like taxing on them. It's, you know, you'll see that difference in a second. Here's one I particularly like. Let's go. It probably doesn't show very well, so let me just lower the camera a little bit. Lighting isn't that great.
That's insane. I could see that. That shit looks insane.
Actually, you know what? Let me try this. There we go.
Bill, what are you doing? Isn't this sick?
This is a Neo that's taken its first meal. So you can visibly see the size. And let's say size of my thumb.
And how are these in comparison to your clutches, Bill? I mean, I know you've had some really dark red Neos this year. Are they kind of similar as far as size-wise to these that we're looking at?
You know, a couple of the clutches have been sized like that, but most of my babies are smaller than that. Yeah, that's amazing looking.
Oh my God, that one's fucking ridiculous. Keep that one on the screen.
Yeah, it's funny. This one's from the Kronos Blue Jay clutch. It's probably the one that looks the most like Kronos. It also happens to be one of the smaller ones at 14 grams, which again, that's a big size, but
So real quick, while we're looking at these, Garrett, when it comes to looking for the holdback, for the one that you want to keep, what are you looking for?
This is what I'm looking for. This is, hold on, let me get a better lighting.
I love
This is what we're looking for. You're looking for some sort of burnt diamond, some sort of special diamond color. You know, the more yellow it is, the better. You're looking for a unique body color. That obviously, if it's unique and dark, boom, best of both worlds. You're looking, and it also depends what kind of lines you're going for. You know, like that's what you look for when you're looking for blue snakes. You know. I mean, and again, they each stand the same amount of chance as the next one, but I think chances are better when you go for something that's a little more extreme.
So, but what was crazy is like there's not much pattern, or I mean that's just a completely red snake. So this right here, oh my god,
yeah.
So you're saying less is more then? Like so the less like yellow dots that you see and the more red that you see, or no, the opposite.
For my particular line, I found that the busier the patterning, the better.
Okay.
And by the way, the last snake had not had its first shed yet. You can visibly see how glossy they look.
Okay, yeah,
for
exactly.
Example.
Wow.
And you know, since the last podcast, well, these were two things I wanted to rectify because I had a lot of people asking why didn't we get a chance to see a couple snakes, and the second one was I really wanted to have seen your enclosures, or rather the tubs, and how you do the babies. So I'd like to show that as well in a second.
Yeah, please do, bro. Wow. So this is one that hasn't had its first shed yet.
Yeah. For example, this is one that I normally don't keep back, but because it had burnt diamonds, I did. And the reason I personally don't keep it back is because I tend to look for a very thick dorsal. In my lines, I think it's, and many people who have very strong Highland genes or blue lines, thick dorsals usually go a long way.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And
I can't believe you're part of this type of club, Bill. And it must be nice.
And, you know, we talk about how simple we keep things. This is how simple we keep things. Just like this.
Hey, look, Garrett stole mine. He stole my design.
Well, great minds think alike.
But seriously, guys, you know, this is the way to go, right? When it comes to just keeping shit simple, like Derek was saying earlier. From your guys' experience, nothing beats that type of substrate and setup, correct? For
nothing. In fact, I mean, you want to go, Bill?
No, I mean, it just you showed. I mean, obviously, what I would recommend. It's how I've been keeping them for a decade, and most of them do well.
Yeah, clean it's sterile is the best. It just does. I mean, there's no point in adding a million different variables in there so that it sees, I don't know, some pothos plant and, you know, some UV lights. And sure, it could help, but it's very hard to keep it clean. So are you willing to, you know, put in that kind of time? I mean, you got to ask yourself, you know, to keep them clean and everything. Where, I mean, if you are, go for it, you know, but keeping them sterile is usually the way to go, and definitely with babies. I mean, and I have one more treat for you guys.
Yeah.
So
I like this guy. Don't you like this guy, Bill?
I like his treats.
I love his treats. Oh, yeah, that's good. All right, break it down, bro. Break it down, please.
This is Gemini. This is the one from the picture. So there you are.
How old is she? What's the age and all that stuff, if you don't mind breaking it down?
He is 2.5 years old. I believe he's May of 21.
2.5? That's 2.5 years old on a.
Yeah, he's 850 grams, I believe.
850 grams, yeah. Bro.
He's only ever ate mice once a week, sometimes once every 10 days when they get a little bit bigger. Appropriate sizes. A few months ago, we started him on jumbo. So.
And your males never get rats?
It's not that they never get rats. Is that, I mean, maybe when they're adults, I might toss one in, but I don't find it necessary.
Mine never get rats. All my males just get mice.
Wow, dude, that thing is just, man.
Let's take him off.
And man, he looks so big, bro.
Big male, dude.
No shit. And you haven't paired him up yet?
No, and I'm probably not going to for a while. I have a lot of really amazing things cooking just from the adults. So I'd rather keep this.
Imagine having a snake like that, even though his age isn't quite there yet. But imagine having a snake like that, and he was like, sorry, I got other things that are fucking like this isn't even his fucking his Roger Clemens right here. You know what I mean? Like,
This is not my best snake.
No.
He's blue wise. So his blue is a little different. He has a little bit more of like a lavender mixed with a very light green in there. So Blue Moon, for example, is where his blue is just solid blue. It's the color of the fucking gloves that I use. And then Kronos, he's a different kind of artificial looking blue. You know, a lot of the outcross, the more you do locality crosses, the more artificial looking they become. Just keep that in mind.
Now, okay, can we nip this in the bud real quick? Designers can be really difficult eaters. That's not the case, correct?
I don't have any designers. So, Bill, you want to take
Wait,
that?
what do you mean? Isn't that a designer right there?
No, this.
Okay, hold on. Time out.
What'd you call it? Locality cross? Locality outcross?
Yeah, I guess it's a locality cross. That's probably the best way to put it. I mean, yes, anybody who's a locality guy watching this is probably cussing me out, saying no, that's a fucking designer. But I mean, if you can track down the genetics and there's no inbreeding that goes into them, I don't think there's much that you can call it a designer. I think for it to be designer, it should probably have either some sort of like inbreeding, or it should have some sort of like long history of crosses, if that makes sense. Something along the lines.
Garrick, that's a designer, buddy.
You're not going to find that in the wild. So
I look at designers as like cream of the crop. That's when I hear designer, I hear like something like is a piece of art. Like Bill said, you're not going to find this in the wild, my man. You're not going to find that in the wild. That's in your hands, bro.
I call it the first step in my blue line.
It's amazing. Like that's incredible, bro. Look at that.
Fuck, bro. He keeps moving.
Jesus, man. And just solely off mice. I love it.
There we go.
Beautiful.
So let me ask you this, Garrick. If once it comes game time for this guy, what would you like to do with him? Like what would be your plan for a snake like this?
So I'm gonna pair him to his half sibling. So they both have the same father but different mothers, and his half sibling being Phoenix, which I remember, Bill, I asked you like a year ago, if you recall. We broke that question.
Yeah, I remember. He said, "It's okay if I call him Phoenix, right?"
You gotta pay your dues. You gotta ask. It was just that female was a very ruby red, and then she started changing with a lot of black, a very purple type of black, which I've noticed usually changes blue, and behold, she did. So now she's like a mix of black and blue, probably going towards all blue. And I think they'd be a great mix together. She's the exact same size as him right now. She's 800, 850, something along those lines. And she's also 2.5 years old. So by the time they're 5 years old, because I wouldn't breed anything younger than that, probably for a female, I think they should be a decent size. And yeah, they should be pretty well established here, like in terms of schedule, so that, breeding shouldn't stress them out too much.
When it comes to just subadults and breeders, what's your ratio? How many chondros do you have right now?
Subadults and breeders.
Right.
So subadults, I have just 3 that I've kept back.
Okay.
All of the snakes I've produced, but all 3 they're pretty beautiful.
That's one, right? Obviously, right?
Yeah, and from adults, probably 8. I want to say 8, but a few of them are retired actually. So his grandmother Violet is 19 years old, and I just didn't feel like breeding her.
Wow.
19.
Yeah, and then I also have 3 that have recently left quarantine, and those are pretty nice. I'm working on a separate line of Highland, I guess, outcrosses, so that eventually, when these guys get a little bit tightly bred, I have something to cross them to.
Where'd those 3 girls come from?
They're not all girls. One's a red neo cyclops, one's a red neo western type, like sarong probably,
right?
And then the other one is red neo biak. So that one's showing a lot of black. Sarong has the standard, looks very similar to actually your Monoquari, Bill.
No, really.
Yeah,
Love that.
they're standard looking, you know, like monoquary, very pretty.
Yeah.
And then the male is just again very similar to that as well, with the blue stripe, just a little bit more, I want to say, white. And usually what Eastern type animals, their green is a little different, so it's a little bit of a darker kind of funkier green. So
Love it. That's an
Wow.
incredible snake.
thank you guys.
So just to kind of, for the record, you know, a male to you is prime for breeding at what age?
You know, I've never attempted any other male other than Kronos or Blue Moon, but I would say so long as the age is, it's a hard question. I would say gram wise, anything over 400 grams should be ready to go gram wise. But age wise, I would say the more you can wait, the better. Just because sperm quality, the same way we want females to be older so their eggs are better, we want males to be a little older so their sperm is more potent. And I think if you can wait past 2 for, let's say, if they're an especially big male, I think you should be fine. But I wouldn't be like an expert in telling you what age would be best, if that makes sense. So
What about you, Bill? I think I've asked you this before, but just since we're on
Yeah,
that topic.
for males, I'll give them a try at 3 years old.
Hmm.
And I had 3 3-year-olds breed this year successfully. Freight Train, who turned out to be a beast, he impregnated 2 different females. He didn't breed when he was 3. He didn't breed when he was 4. But when he was 5, he
Game
was
time.
a beast.
Nice.
So I'll give them a shot at 3. I don't expect them to breed. I would hope that they'll breed when they're 4. Maybe they'll breed when they're 5.
yeah,
Females, last year was the first time I ever bred a female that was 4 years old. All other females at 5. This one was just so well developed and looked so
Yeah.
good. At 4, I gave her a go and she did great. And this year I'll breed another 4-year-old. In fact, this year I'll breed 2 4-year-old females for similar reasons. They just look great. They've always been perfect, good size. They're just ready.
Yeah, I mean, if you know, you know. I mean, I don't think 4 is that big a deal, honestly, for a female. I mean, if she's of good condition, like you say, so
Yeah.
no, I'd say go for it.
I've got other 4-year-old females here that I wouldn't even think about it. You know, they're gonna be 5.
Yeah.
So I bet a lot of people are asking right now, like, what's Garrick holding back from his 2 clutches this year? Do you have any idea, like, how many neos you're holding back this year so far?
Honestly, I'm hoping half. I'm hoping half.
I love that.
I
and,
mean-
and you're somebody like, okay, because I'm sure people are on your bumper, bro. Like, I mean, and even people who aren't even in the league or even the realm of getting what you have, they're gonna come ask you, like, okay, what's going on, you know? But for you, when it even considered to letting something go, when is that time even the time for a neo to look at, to be like, okay, I'll go and part ways with this?
So for a neo, I guess I have like a 3-step process. As neos, I usually tend to keep back my favorites in the clutch, and if there are repeat looks, maybe I might keep back the better one. And I do this because the clutches, for the most part, have been quite big, and it's very hard to. And when it happens, it all happens at once, as you guys well know. So it's hard to keep all of them back. You keep back, let's say, half, or maybe a little more, maybe a little less. Sometimes maybe none of them. You might not sell any, but yeah, you let them go based on probably looks and what seems to have worked before. And then again, as yearlings, the ones that are showing the most amount of promise, you'd let go of. And it's not really a matter of, oh shit, like this one turned blue and I let it go, darn. No, it's because we're not just going for blue, if that makes sense. We're going for the ones that change blue fastest. You know, you want that next generation to change blue really fast, so that way you don't have to make a mistake, you know?
I've made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Imagine, pretty early on.
That's what builds the personality that you have, is all the mistakes, right? I mean, it's kind of how you have to go with things. I feel like
Makes other people's collections.
Exactly. I think my mistakes, I love my mistakes. I love to see people have stuff of mine that has turned out crazy. It's a win-win for me and for the person that acquires it.
I mean, like I can't agree more, Bill, because as much as it's brutal to talk about my mistakes, it gets me excited because I can't wait for my next try. You know what I mean? Like it's just because I know it's all about tweaks, you know what I mean? And you know, obviously moving and stuff like that doesn't help, but whatever, like it's just a matter of time. It's just all about being patient, you know what I mean? And if you want something bad enough, it doesn't matter how long it'll take, you'll fucking wait for it, you know?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say you're going to be in your place for quite a while.
Yeah. I mean, I think for like 5 years, which isn't that long to think about, right? But I need a fucking bigger place, bro. I mean, I love it
already, huh?
I love it here. Don't get me wrong, but man, you know, I want emus, bro. I want my fucking farm animals back. I'm trying to live it, bro. Trying to live it, you know, day by day. Now, Garrick, I'm curious as far as what your plan is future wise. You know, obviously you have certain pairings that are repeat pairings, okay? And will you always be down to do repeat pairings? Like are the Neos that bomb where you're like, I will do this shit every year if I have to? You know what I mean?
Again, not to brag, but yeah, I mean, some of the pairings that I've done repeats on, they've produced some really great looking animals. And even if I just end up with one or I end up with 5 that end up from my holdbacks looking great,
right,
I'm still happy. You know, it doesn't matter if it's male, doesn't matter if it's female. I want to walk in that room and I want to see blue snakes, and that's the motto here. That's the motto for me. So
you want to know
what your grandbabies are producing, I'll still be doing repeat pairings from my very first.
Want to know one thing I want to do forever, and if I could have the power of doing this, I will do it. You want to know what that is?
Let's hear it.
Never having to walk into a room to see snakes I produced on a table at a wholesale cost. I never want to experience that ever again, to the point where I'm fucking full fucking throttle with the Chondro game now, because I can never see any of my friends like you two doing something like that. I don't see it being a possibility. But now, mind you, like, do you feel like even though you have these repeat pairings, like you could always keep the price, what the prices are for your Neos? Like, do you ever see a consistent change in the prices of how you price the stuff that you make, Garrett?
That's a tricky question, because it also depends on how well established you are as a breeder, how well established, let's say, your line might be, and then it also depends on what the animals actually look like. Those all are going to make the price.
Well, we're talking about your animals. We're specifically we're talking about you specifically.
Okay, then I'll scratch out the first two. I'd say the price is primarily determined by what the Neo looks like. You know, like,
right.
I don't care who has a gun to my head. If it is a crazy looking animal, you're not going to let it go for half the price just because you've done that pairing before. You know, it's a crazy looking animal. It doesn't matter what generation it is, how many names are in the lineage history. I care about the phenotype. You know, I care about what it's going to be able to produce. I care, you know, so it's, for me, that's the price.
Garrick, I think it can be really almost the opposite of that. In other words, you know, my Jaeger biscuit pairing that has happened 3 times. You know, the price every year on that pairing of those babies goes up because of what the animals over 2-3 years, you know, turn into. You know, you go, holy shit, you know, this incredibly black animal, blue animal, high yellow animal, you know, all these came, you know, from that pairing. And so you don't know, like when the baby's a year old, the animal's 2 years old, even sometimes you don't know. But by the time they're 3 and 4 years old and they're cranking out consistently these incredible looking adults, price on those things go up.
Oh yeah, you're talking about with age or with the newer clutches?
I'm talking about the newer clutches.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about the newer clutches.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, you're seeing the phenotype. You're seeing these animals grow up and do amazing things. You do want to let them go, but if you have, let's say, like 20 from the newer clutch, you know, and you still have babies, let's say, that are yearlings that you're letting go from the last clutch, it's not the same, you know. Like, you could, if you ask for more, I feel like it becomes a little bit tricky for other people to choose which clutch do I get from, you know. Yeah, it's just, but definitely I agree with you 100%. If the clutches, especially if they prove themselves the first time around, you need to be more selective, not just about the price that you're choosing for the animal, but about who you're selling it to.
Yeah.
I found that nowadays I'm pretty selective about who they go to, because you don't want to either A, see them resold, or B, you don't want to see them go to someone who's not going to know what to do with it. Or
Has that happened to you a lot, Garrett? Have you seen your animals be resold right away? Have you ever seen an animal be purchased and then they try to flipping it right off the bat?
Flipping? No, we don't see too many flipping in the Chondro game.
That's what I'm talking about.
We do see, like, again, eventually some people downsizing and letting go of snakes. And I have seen that, actually. It's funny, for the first time starting last year, I think. So, and it's normal, it happens, you know, but there's nothing you can do. Like, and it could even happen with a good friend, you know, like I personally, I wouldn't get upset if a good friend, let's say they have a collection of 20 and my animal might fall a little short of their expectation color wise. And they're like, hey, I need to trim out, you know, and they let it go. It's not the end of the world. I just need to make sure that they let it go to somebody who's going to take as good of care as they are, because you trust them with your animal. They need to be able to do the same with the next guy. So
I agree 100%. There's really, you know, there's a lot of neat things about the green tree community. And one of the great things about being a breeder is having the ability to vet your buyer. You know, it's a real luxury. I don't take it for granted. I just know how lucky we are to be able to. Most people can't, you know, really vet the buyer like we can. You know, I mean, I'm like Garrett. I want to see these things go into good hands. I want them to have the most chance of succeeding. And you know, it's a good feeling to be able to know that you can do that, and you know, question, you know, what are you going to set it up in? You know, what are you going to feed it? You know, send me a picture of your setup. You know, I like to have the ability to do that.
Now, wrap up question for you, Garrett here.
yeah,
It's kind of like it's a trick question, not really a trick question, but it's kind of a no-brainer. It's the title of the headline of tonight's episode. Is the Green Tree Python game the best game to be in? And I'm asking this because I don't want to be in any other game but the Green Tree Python game, just because how much excitement and heartbreak it brings you, but just the exciting possibilities of the diversity of what to make, right? And here we are talking about things that aren't morphs. We're not talking about morphs here, okay? Which I love, okay? But why don't you, in your words, explain to the reptile industry, whoever's listening, why the Green Tree Python game would be the best game to be in?
I may be biased, but there is nothing more powerful than walking into a room and seeing a vibrant blue, green, black, calico snake staring right back at you. You go on Google, you look up snake eyes, chondros are the first ones on there.
Wow.
Crazy. That speaks for itself. I mean, there's nothing more beautiful out there. I mean, it's a preference, of course, but for me, it just the colors alone, the eggs when they hatch, they're Easter. Even they all red, they're all yellow, let's say, but they're also different and they're also wonderful, and they all end up looking so unique.
We're talking levels to these yellows and reds. Yeah. Well, in your case, only reds.
Yeah, I've never seen yellow. What is he talking about? Yellow?
I haven't produced that. Okay, I still get excited when I see other people produce yellows, though. I mean,
wait, you've never produced one yellow your entire career?
No, of course, my nails are red dominant. So,
what would you do if you ever saw a yellow Neo? What would you do?
Well, I've seen yellow Neos.
No, I'm talking about from your what? Let's just say you see a yellow Neo pop up in your clutch. What would you do?
If it's a Chronos related clutch,
Cool.
I'll tell you this: I'd be pretty pissed. I'd be really pissed. If it's an outcross that I'm working on, hey, even better. You know what to sell. You know,
you know what to sell.
I'm biased. I'm an all red fan. I mean, if my heart's not 100% in it, it's why do it? You know. So, and I love those things. I love that black baby you posted the other day. It's a preference.
Bill, do you really feel like that's going to outdo the sickness?
No.
Okay. Damn.
No.
But you haven't seen something like that since the sickness, you said, right? Or like on that level of darkness, like of.
I've never produced or seen one that is so dark and so patternless.
So you really don't know where that's going to head then, technically.
No, it's a first time pairing. That's why, you ask Garrick, like, why is the green tree game like the best game? And one of them is because you don't know what's going to happen. Like if you do emeralds, you do the highest emeralds there are, the best basins on the planet, they're going to be green and white.
Yeah.
These things, especially with the parents, like if I pair Jaeger to Biscuit, I could have the highest yellow come out as an adult, or I could have something like the Sickness that's black and blue and everything in between. And I don't know what it's going to be.
Sickness came from a Wamena dam, right?
Yeah, the Sickness was a Wamena dam. Yeah.
Right. Now, I mean, how many snakes have you made that look identical to the other? Like, have you ever made two identical looking snakes?
No, never.
Both of you guys, any of you guys?
I mean, no, there's always subtle variations. Like I could pick out a lineup, of every adult that I have or every adult that I've produced. And first of all, I can tell you if I produced it. And secondly, I could pick out which one it was.
Right. Man.
They're all different.
Especially with reds, their dorsal patterning, the diamonds, it's like a fingerprint. They're never the same. So even if they're very similar, if you have a picture of the baby's dorsal and diamond and the adult, you'll be able to identify it like this. If it's, of course, kept it, right, Bill? I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Garrick, any of your work overseas, or is anybody from like Europe or anybody like that bought your stuff?
Europe, I haven't figured out how to ship to. I mean, I get the general idea. It's just too difficult. Canada, right. However, yes.
So you got some Canadian customers, huh?
MJ, I saw a super chat question in there about shipping to Europe. It was quite a while ago.
Oh, yes. Actually, yeah, let's go back to that real quick. I don't want to miss this. And shout out, because this guy literally scheduled his sleep time in Europe so he could wake up in time for this episode, okay?
I hope he's still with us.
He went to bed extra early to wake up at like 3 a.m. to watch this episode. This guy's a real one, okay? And you're right. Thank you, Bill, for that reminder. I don't want to miss his super chat. But his super chat was any chance on an export overseas in the future. So has that been something, like, have you been inquired enough and that much to even look into that yet, Garrick, to see if that's even a possibility?
A lot, actually. But I'd say the same thing. If you guys can figure out the shipping, I'll send out the animal.
So MJ, yes, that's exactly my response. I've shipped several animals to Canada. I've shipped one animal to Europe. I shipped it to Italy, and it was pre-COVID.
Oh, okay.
It took 2.5 years to get there.
What? Whoa! Holy shit!
It was, so he bought it. And so the story is, I told him the same thing like Garrick, like, I'm not going to do the CITES. I'm not going to do all that. I'll send it anywhere in the U.S. You're responsible to get it from the exporter into your country. And so I did that. A guy from Italy bought the animal. I sent it to Portland. And then COVID hit. And it sat there 2.5 years before he could get it into Italy.
In Portland?
From Portland to Italy.
In your collection, it was there for 2.5 years after?
No, it sat in Portland for 2.5 years.
Oh, yikes. But it's funny. How long did it sit in your collection before you let it go?
Oh, like 4 months, 5 months. Just
exactly.
That's my standard time, 4 to 6 months before I release.
Wow.
But Bill, let's be honest. A few have gotten away from you.
What?
A few have gotten away from you. Like, meaning because of like your assurance, like, okay, I could sell this now. Some of those, at least, you'd want back if you could take back from what.
Oh God, are you kidding me?
So would you advise maybe wait a little bit longer if you could?
It all depends. It's such an individual decision.
Yeah.
I have no regrets about releasing animals that turn out badass. I love to see it. I have no regrets because sometimes the opposite can happen. Sometimes you can release an animal with just incredible genetics, and 3 years later, you got a green animal.
Now I'm gonna shout my buddy out real quick because
you have this. Okay, sorry.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask how many clutches he had this year.
6.
It was a lot, I remember.
He's at 6.
Yeah, 6 clutches, and most of them that I had 2 of them sired by Jaeger, not holding a single animal back. All of them have been sold because I have so much of his genetics and blood in my collection.
Exactly. You don't want to.
I don't care what it looks like phenotypically. I've got enough of his blood in my collection.
Mm-hmm.
Other stuff, freight train, I'm keeping a lot of it. So it just depends on your circumstances.
I love my friends. I don't get jealous of them whatsoever, but I'm not gonna lie. My buddy Juan, who I grew up with, has has some of your guys' work in his collection.
Yeah, it's got.
Bill, here's one. Pretty sure this is one of them, right, Bill?
Yeah, that's one of mine.
You son of a bitch. This is fucking insane.
That's
Shout out to my boy Juan. Please give him a follow. Life's Rad Chondros. But then here's one of Garrick's work right here. I believe this one right here.
Beautiful.
El Tigre.
El Tigre. That's right before the change. He hasn't sent an updated photo though, I think, right?
Okay, this is February 17th.
Yeah.
And yeah, see, I don't have an we need an updated photo here. Wait, it's not this one, obviously, no, because that's the mayor. Wow, so look at this transformation though. If we could look at this real quick. So it went from this
Jaeger biscuit
to this.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
That's insane.
Yeah. That's the beauty of chondros,
Was the goal behind that pairing calico, high yellow, melanism?
Melanism bred to high yellow.
Okay. Because I know high yellow mixed with designer can often produce melanism. So I was curious what the end goal was for that,
Yeah, that pair is thrown out high yellow and adults, high blue, high black. It's done it all.
High yellow from there. Like it was near solid yellow.
Patrick has that animal. I think the one that you're thinking about in his possession now. To breed it, it's a female.
Oh, well, that always changes everything.
Now hold on. So high yellows are red neos for the most part, correct?
This one was yellow. So high yellow adults can come from red or yellow neos.
Yeah.
What would you ever want to dabble with a high yellow red neo at all, Garrett?
Honestly, they are really beautiful. I believe one came out of my Womaniac pairing, and a few came out of it, but one that's particularly worth mentioning, it belongs to Anubis Reptiles. I've noticed the yellow on high yellow animals that were once red babies, it's more of a gold color. It's much deeper. It's not
deeper yellow.
Yeah, and oftentimes from yellow babies, it's a very banana yellow. You just can't go wrong either way. An extreme animal is an extreme animal, no matter how you slice the cake. Like it's.
Now, for anyone out there wondering the best chances of them getting an animal from you, Garrick, obviously follow your Instagram and you're on Facebook, but let's be realistic here. How can someone make it a possibility to get one of your neos or one of your productions at that? What's the best way to go about that?
They're willing to do right by the animal. They're not willing to, I guess, they put their pride before caretaking, because that seems to be a big problem with some people, if they think, no, you don't get to teach us anything, we know everything. No, if the breeder is telling you this is the way I would like it to be raised, chances are they're going to want to let go to somebody who's going to raise it like that.
Right.
And 2, I guess, get your funds ready.
Yeah, dude, don't fuck around. You better make sure you know what you're inquiring for.
Yeah, tell your wife, make sure she's on board. That's nobody wants to be told, okay, after an hour, I need to talk to the wife, see what she says. It's why don't you just say no?
Love it.
This is not for L7 weenies, man.
No tire kickers allowed.
Dude, yeah, if you're overweight and you're fucking tire kicking, you're gonna get the boot. No, I'm just
Make
kidding.
sure your car had its oil change. I don't want to hear you got into a car crash right before that your dog needed surgery or that your wife says no. It's just those 3 things.
Here's the thing: you could do that, but guess what? You're never gonna get one ever again.
It's all about originality, you know.
It really is, and honestly, character too. Because at the end of the day, you know what you're inquiring for? You're inquiring for something that means everything to the breeder, and we're talking about something that doesn't happen overnight. You know, I was just giving fucking Bill his flowers before we got started tonight about, yeah, he has 6 clutches, but you know what he went through to get those 6 clutches finally? You know what I mean? Like the ups and downs, and but that's what makes this game so worth it. If you hunker down and take your licks and just wait for it, it's all gonna come. You know what I mean? But dude, this is why, like, I don't want to be a part of something that some asshole could get for cheap and just fuck up all the pricing. I don't want to be a part of something like that, bro. Like that right there just kind of fucks up everything that I'm very passionate about because I like the rarity of things, and I understand once you work with something for so long, it's going to go out. But still, I want it to go out to people that I could track. I want to be able to take tabs like, how's that animal doing for you? Oh, you need to get rid of it. I know who you could sell it to. Like, I know somebody, or give it back to me. That type of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or whatever. You know.
Jay, well, I was just going to say, I can give you some assurance. In the 50 years of U.S. chondro breeding and keeping in the United States, that is yet to happen. It's no different now than it was in the 1980s, 1970s, 80s, and 90s. You know, that's the way the community's been. That's the way the animals have been handled and treated, and I don't foresee it changing.
Yeah, the price tag is there for a reason. You know, if it was that common, it would not be that high. You know, it would not be that difficult to produce. I mean, let alone producing something of quality or nice looking. I mean,
there's not one Louis Vuitton store out there that accepts Groupons. Okay, that's all I gotta fucking say. Keep your fucking promo codes and your coupons in your pockets, or for ship your reptiles. But I'm saying, you ain't gonna apply no discounts to these goddamn animals, and that's because there's a reason behind it. It ain't something being done everywhere. Okay, that's plain and simple, and I love it. I want to be a part of something like this, and man, what a great episode, Garrett. You know, one of many that I want to have you on more and more, bro. And you know, I'm curious if you know, I didn't see you at the last Reptile Super Show. Do you have any plans on getting your face back out there and saying what up to people at shows and whatnot?
You know, I really do want to go more. I mean, I see a lot of you guys posting like, oh, NRBA or NARB. I don't know what it's called. You know, Arlington, going back to Bill's house. You know, let's get some drinks. Let's look at some snakes. And it's like, I fucking live in Los Angeles. Like, you know, I've never been on a plane before, let alone, you know.
What the fuck? Okay, I'm bringing this guy with me, Bill. Can we invite this guy, please? Can we bring him over?
I insist that he comes, even though you're not coming.
I will if Garrett goes. How about that?
Put him on a plane at least.
Okay. Let's do it. You know, you guys seem to have so much fun there, and it just looks like such a good time. I mean,
we have a blast here, man.
It's an amazing time.
I'd love for you to come.
Yeah. You know, because at the end of the day, it's like, you know, it's cool when you can hang out in a grown-up setting where you're just talking about shit that makes you feel like a kid. All this shit right here makes me feel young. And I love it because here we are just geeking out over something that just keeps us going in life. And I want to say, Garrett, I'm a huge fan of your hard work and you doing what you're doing. You know, you're a good reason why. And obviously 6 clutches is amazing, Bill. But I know at the end of the day, if I don't ever hit 6 clutches, I know that it's because I don't need to hit 6 clutches if you are working with that fucking fire. And Bill, all 6 of your clutches are fire. Don't get me wrong. Taking nothing away from you, buddy. But I'm saying for somebody who has nothing right now, I just know.
I wouldn't wish 6 clutches on anybody unless they were able to do this all day like I do. I wouldn't wish 6 clutches on anybody.
Oh, my God, man. But seriously, you're an inspiration, bro. And for you to be on the West Coast, like, you know, you're within 2 hours with me. Why don't we hang out more? Can we hang out more, bro? You're not far.
You answer that question. Come down, check out the new snake facility.
Dude, give me the green light. By the way, I got a little insight before we went live, and unfortunately, it wasn't to Garrett's standards to show it off quite yet. But Garrett, I would love to come do a vlog at your place, bro. I would love to do a vlog at your place once it's ready. Show the people how it is.
In the chair.
Yeah, dude. Let me ask you this. Okay, hold on. Do you think by January your place will be ready?
Yeah, I think in the next few weeks, actually. I mean, I'll the snake room's definitely ready. Just outside, we're doing finishing touches, like built-in barbecue. You know.
Can I bring Bill Stiegel and Marshall Mendez by?
Were you not going to originally?
I'm just saying I will because Marshall Mendez is coming to Pomona, and Bill, I'm gonna make him feel guilty enough to where he has to come to Pomona. And once they fly to San Diego on our way to Pomona, we want to go to your place and we'll fucking hang out. We'll do a podcast. We'll sit in those chairs and we'll have a good time.
This is a pool table, actually.
Oh, let's go.
Nice.
It doesn't open, but
I see it. I see it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a player. You got the red velvet. I like that.
100%.
Hey, Garrett, hey, bro, we had just shy of 90 people tapped in on tonight's episode. I just want to say, man, before the show started, I had a lot of people excited to hear from you tonight. So what do you have to say to all your love and support out there before we let you go?
If somebody had told me 5 years ago that this is the way Chondros was going to be, I would have told them to fuck off. I wouldn't have believed it, but I made some amazing friends, literally amazing friends. We just talk on the phone. How are you? How are your kids? It's really wonderful. And I really appreciate you guys tuning in and I guess wanting to hear what I have to say. And, but I know a lot of you guys tuned in for Bill, so don't even.
Not true, my friend. Not true,
man. They're tuned in for the both of you motherfuckers, man, because you guys are relevant in what we're talking about tonight. But Garrick, I gotta say, man, I cannot wait to have that next episode with you back on the show.
Let's do
keep doing your thing, keep killing it. But guys, do me a favor, let's give it up for my man GG from the House of Blues, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you guys. It was honestly my pleasure, my honor, my everything.
Dude, honor's on this side, buddy. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you guys. Bye.
All right.
Bye, Garrett.
Man, what a good guy, bro.
Yeah, he's a super good guy. I can't believe I didn't know he was in Southern California.
He's in LA. He's not far. He's like, dude, he's right next to Tim.
I was going to say, we should have dropped by there when we hit Tim's place.
How about we introduce Tim to Garrick, and then fucking next thing you know, Garrick is working with Basins, and then fucking Tim a little bit of fucking blue line shit. Or who knows? I don't know. But we need to get together and get this group going because this you want to talk about designer group of friends.
Dude's never been on an airplane. Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, before we say our goodbyes, I have to show you a non-holdback animal.
Please. Yeah, I was gonna say, come on, Bill. I know we kind of we had the red carpet rolled out for Garrick, but we're not gonna just go out without you showing a little bit of heat. So what do you have to show us and tell us what it is? Let's talk about it.
This is Bill's 2308 Jaeger to Clover, not a holdback. This is your animal.
What? That's mine?
Yeah. It's in shed right now, of course.
Damn, bro. That is fire. This is coming to the trap.
It's coming to the trap.
And how many meals has this had? Break down how old this snake is, Bill.
I don't know. This thing's probably 4 months old now. Had 12 meals.
Okay, can I see it one more time before? Oh my God, I'm so stoked. Bill, are you good at maybe calling males or females at a snake this size, this young, or no? Like, is it?
No, not at all. I've heard many people say they can predict. I can't and I won't.
That snake has one meaty head. Okay, I'm guessing female. I don't give a fuck. I'm so happy. I'm excited. You know what's crazy is, shout to your boy, man. I'm not gonna lie. I know I'm your friend, but I wish I was a little bit more of an Alex Warren type of buddy to you, because Alex Warren is that's your compadre right there. Your goddamn right hand fucking man in the line of fire.
He is my right hand man.
And I'm getting fire from him that you produced. Okay,
I know you are. It's gonna come with this one. We're gonna send them together.
Do you know the information on that snake off the top of your hand?
No, I don't. I produced it and you're getting it. Oh,
okay.
No. It's a blue line, Jason Stevens, Gems male, bred to that freaking awesome Manicory female. That was her first clutch.
Wow. Jesus. So I'm getting those two snakes in, just so you know, okay? And they're both Bill Productions, and mind you, I don't have anything from Bill. This is wow, man. It's an honor, Bill. It's an honor to fucking on so many different levels, like not only being your friend, but just to have you drop the knowledge that you drop on not only this podcast, buddy, but you show the love to everyone, man. And I gotta say, Bill, that's a big man of you to like not judge someone based off the size of their podcast. If someone invites you on to fucking talk chondros, you're game. And I see that. And I fucking love that about you, bro.
Well,
I really do.
Of course, man. I appreciate that. I'll do it, and I do it all the time, and I love it. And I treat everyone like it's my first podcast, because a lot of times the people that are listening, it's their first podcast to listen about green trees. So It's just so easy to like show the enthusiasm and the passion for it, because they're what I love.
Now, Bill, I don't have to tell you this, but you had a lot of love and fucking mad love and respect in the chats tonight. Okay, a lot of people rooting for you. What do you have to say to all your love? What do you have to say to all your love and support out there, man?
Well, what's so awesome is I know most of the people in the chat. Would you say there's 50, 60, 70 people? I know most of them. They're people that I've either met in person, I've communicated with about animals. They have an animal of mine. I mean, it's just so cool. It's so humbling, and I just, I'm just so, I've told you this before, MJ, the people to me are every bit as important as the animals, whether it's ball pythons, chondros, whatever else, whatever other community I dabble in. And I just really, really like the people that are involved, and that's as important to me as the animals. It really is.
And remember that saying that was out there that made Bill become the mayor, and that saying is Bill Stiegel is for the people.
Always for the people.
Hey, Bill, honestly, bro,
don't recall me, man. Don't recall me.
Nobody's fucking with you, man. Like, Bill, you are seriously something else. And okay, chondro experience aside, just the fucking person you are. You're the most funnest person to ever hang out with. When it just comes to a reptile show, just whatever, man. Like you're just such a good fucking person to be around. And this is what makes this industry so beautiful is being able to fucking interact with somebody like you. You know what I mean? And you're no average Joe, Bill. Even though you don't put yourself on a pedestal, you're just fucking you're one special individual, bro. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. So I just gotta say, I love for you, bro.
My wife says that I'm an adolescent in a 58-year-old body. I just am.
God bless Kim. We love Kim. Kim is something else. I love you, Mama Kim. Bill, hey, thank you for listen, your assistance, your facilitation on helping me on tonight's episode means everything to me. Thank you so much for being my road dog. I can't wait to hang out with you again soon. Listen, I know I have everything marked off as far as traveling for the rest of the year, but if it's one thing I can make, it could be in Arlington, and that would be your party. So you never know. Even
if it's for one night. Come in Friday, I'll take you to the airport Saturday morning.
Right. I'll be back to heat up the next bottle. We'll be all right. But guys, do me a favor, please. This is Phoenix Reptiles, Bill Stiegel, the mayor of Chondro Town. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up. Love you, Bill. Have a good night, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. I'll talk to you soon.
Peace. Woo! That's a wrap. I love my man, Bill, man. Bill Stiegel. And Garrett, you know what I mean? And I honestly want to make more of an effort to hang out with Garrett because he's not far from where I live. And holy shit, that guy got hit. I always get jealous of Alex Warren being so close to fucking Bill Stiegel. Well, I have Garrett. Listen, I got people I could go fucking hang out with more often too. So, and I always tell people, stop being such a fucking hermit and go out there and connect with people in your area. Like, start putting yourself out there. So even though I got my own thing and I got the trap, I need to go out and explore with my local SoCal motherfuckers and just kind of just hang out, So thank you guys for everyone who tapped in, all the super chats. Thank you so much. All the love to Bill and Garrett tonight. Thank you so much. If this was your first time hanging out with us, hit that like button if you enjoyed tonight's episode. But more importantly, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. And when you hit that bell, you're going to want to select all. because by selecting all, it notifies you on any piece of content I drop here on this channel. So thank you for all the subscribers. Subscribers are going up. And yeah, man, 10K, we're coming for you. So I'm going to be doing something very special once we hit 10K subscribers. My goal is to hit 10K by the end of the year. So guys, hit that subscribe button for me, please. Especially if you're into keeping reptiles, if you're into learning and just kind of want to figure out what it is that you want to do with the reptiles, this is the podcast to be a part of. Coolest reptile podcast in the world for years running. Thank you so much. Again, exclusive content. That's the Trap Talk Patreon family. Very first link in the description below. So make sure you click that link if you want to tap in with me and the trappers, if you want to get more personal conversations and just kind of understand maybe more of a game plan if you don't have one. Trap Talk Patreon family, don't sleep on us. We are well connected, okay? Bill Stiegel, part of the Patreon family. You heard from him. He upgraded his membership. Support U.S. art, too. Very important. And don't forget about tonight's sponsors. Gary Shavino, GS Reptiles on YouTube. Head over to YouTube, type in GS Reptiles, subscribe, then head over to Instagram and make sure you follow GS Reptiles on Instagram. And shout to the #1 PVC built enclosures in the game, Focus Cube Habitats, flexing Texas all day, every day. And of course, last but not least, use what the pros use. Use what Bill Stiegel, the mayor, uses. Use what MJ, Trap Talk Podcast, Trap Exotic uses. That's Ship Your Reptiles, the real deal Holyfield, the OG when it comes to shipping your reptiles. It does not get more authentic and real deal than Ship Your Reptiles. And again, shave $15 off the top of your next shipping. Use promo code Trap Talk. Guys, thank you so much. Have a good night. Be safe. Appreciate all the love and support. And I'll see you guys at the top. And I'm out.